It does work better. I think the city might want to have one. Then we could get a few more seats.
I'm not going to comment on that one. I don't think it's a good idea.
No, I don't think we should go that way either. I think there should be some rule that you can't have all of your council on the same plane or same car. Because if something happened, that'd change the whole administration pretty fast.
Is Brent up here? Or is he down in St. George?
Yeah, Brent's at his house, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday, so there's a revised agenda. So, but this is the one that's got all the detail. So, she sent that out yesterday.
I have the
Is that the revised one?
Yes, it should be the revised agenda.
Okay.
It's the most recent one I got.
This morning or?
Yes.
Yesterday? What's that?
Yeah, it got
Amended agenda here.
amended agenda.
Ryan, did you get the resolution that I sent about
I
30
did.
minutes ago?
I did, I have it.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome. We have all of our council members present. 4 of us are in downtown St. George, or actually feels sweltering here compared to Providence. I don't know, it's in the high 70s. I was sweating on the way down here as we approach St. George. So we have Council Member Kirk, Council Member Seeley, we have Council Member Eck, we have Council Member Paulson by video, we have Council Member Speth by video. Ryan, I don't see his picture. Ryan, our city manager, is pushing the buttons on the computer. We've got a nice big video screen here. Sit here at a conference table. So let's go ahead and get the council started. This is the virtual meeting. We have no one in our council chambers or at the city office. Ryan, do we have a flag? Excellent. All right. So we'll go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a thought for this evening or prayer from one of the council members, one of the city staff, or a member of the audience. Let's go ahead and follow me while I recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to offer a prayer this evening or a thought. Please raise your hand and give us an indication. If not, we'll go. Council Member Kirk, raise your hand. Go ahead.
Our eternal Father in heaven, we bow our heads and we express gratitude for the opportunity that we have to serve thee and to serve the residents of Providence. We're grateful for the health and strength that thou hast given us, and we pray that we might use our energy to do good and to bless the lives of others. We pray that thou will help us in our meeting tonight, that we can communicate our ideas clearly, that we can understand each other and the needs of the citizens of Providence. We pray that we can be efficient with our time and that we can feel peace in the decisions that we make. Heavenly Father, we love thee and we acknowledge thy hand in all things that are good. And we offer this prayer in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Very much. All right. We have a lot on the agenda tonight. We should be able to get through this without being too late. Most of this is fairly straightforward. Some of it will have some discussion. Ryan, do we have anybody watching online? This is just us.
We have just those that we've invited. Let me see if we have any others. I don't have my mouse.
So we have representatives.
We do have a number of different representatives for different things on the agenda.
So first on our agenda is the staff reports. And I can only read part of that. So we have our Administrative Services Director. So we hear from Scarlett. Is Rob with us?
Yes.
Okay. Rob, our Public Works Director, and Ryan, our City Manager, who is here with us tonight. Scarlett, you want to go ahead?
Also, Mayor, when we get to the annexation public hearing, I do have someone that came in on the Providence City, Utah at Gmail. So I'll read that at the public hearing time for you. Our recreation program is underway. Well, we are got the snack stand actually open this year. Our scorekeepers are doing double duty. They're keeping score and they're selling drinks and candy. We are not selling anything that we have to make on site. So we don't need to have food handlers permits or manager certificates, but water, Gatorade, candy, that type of thing. And it seems to be going well. Land use is still moving right along. You'll see some of it tonight, quite a bit of it tonight, and we've got more coming down the road for you. So we're staying busy. April is busy trying to keep up on stormwater and code compliance. They held a meeting today with Logan City. They invited all of the contractors in the area for a meeting to go over stormwater rules and regulations and general construction ideas. And so we're trying to do the best we can to stay on top. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. If not, then enjoy your time down there in St. George, and I'll pop in now and again for some of these agenda items.
I wondered about the snack stand. Is that available for other groups to do as fundraisers? And if so, is there a fee for that to set up in the snack stand and do that?
In years past, we have let other groups do it. If they want to utilize the grill, they have to meet all of the requirements there. They have to have somebody that has a manager's certificate in order to utilize the grill or serve cooked food on prepared on-site food. And so we have to clean that grill and do some things like that. So we charge the amount it costs for that cleaning service. So it's usually about between $600 and $800 is what that costs. But groups can utilize it. That's how we've done it in the past.
You have a particular group you'd like to utilize it?
I don't have anyone specific, but I know a lot of clubs and teams are trying to do fundraising things, so they might want to know it's an option.
Now,
You just have to buy their supplies and sell their stuff. So because we're taking it on this year, it's a little different because we're operating, right?
right. And if they wanted to do it like we're doing, Janelle, then we'd have to, we just have to come up with a reasonable fee. But if they were just going to sell candy and chips and Gatorade and things like that, no prepared food on site, just things that they didn't need food handlers and the grill clean thing and then we could come up with a reasonable fee for the use of the building, and they could get it for considerably less. So it just kind of depends on what they would like to do.
So is it covered for the whole summer season?
By our staff, so not necessarily. If you have the time, let's get together.
Yeah, I have some interest in that too.
Okay, get with us, tell us the times, because our staff's running it. There is some option, and but just get with us, kind of, and so that we can schedule and work out. We want to make sure it's clean, and if we need to take care of stuff. So anyway, like you said, probably a small fee, but definitely enough. This is the year, because we're doing it, this is the year to probably have a few of those if we have. So.
Also, off topic a little bit, but I don't know if anybody else is having trouble, but I can hear Ryan really well. But Janelle and the mayor and Carrie, it's a little bit difficult for me to hear you. I don't know if anybody else is having that struggle, but
The other end of the table.
So just to define, the microphone is in the camera, and so you'll need to make sure that that's where the project it to
So the
that.
further we are, the louder we have to.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Got it, Scarlett, I got the message.
thank
Scarlett,
you.
I have a question for you, and I can speak loud enough. I have a neighbor that asked if on a weekend, morning or afternoon, that they could use the classroom at the city office, bring in a speaker on a particular subject matter and invite some of their group members.
We have not set up our program to do that. We talked about it right after we moved into the building, and then we actually kind of decided that we didn't want to utilize the city office that way, but I've got a policy that we had that we were getting ready to put in place. I can certainly sit down with Ryan and we can put something together if you would like to start opening that up a little bit more. And we can start to allow groups to use that classroom under some guidelines, but we've got to finish putting the guidelines, we've got them put together. We just really need to have them approved. So
they need to be on our next agenda.
At that point, are you looking that you would charge, or is this I mean, are they going to have, is it a money maker for them? It's just an activity.
They're going to have a speaker speak on a particular topic. Invite their members of the public who want to attend.
We've opened a few small and isolated ones to individual groups on a one-time
basis.
basis.
The size of the group, say up to 20 people or something like that.
Yeah, if it's a one-time, I mean, we've let the blacksmith fork use it once or twice, just kind of in place of having it somewhere else. So if it's just an occasional off, if it's a regular thing, we want to make sure that we have something more substantial in place than we have today.
yeah, the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers, the DUPs, they haven't actually used it. They've called a time or two and kind of had us as a backup plan, but they've not actually come. But there's just kind of more of a once in a while type thing as well. We don't have anything consistent that we're doing that is not city related.
It required a staff to stay and be there to be at the building to a facilitator, and we'd want a fee to cover that facilitation.
So, Scarlett, in the past, we had Stacy Snyder, our state representative, come there and meet and greet. We allowed that to be used in the past. I don't know if we charged him. It was a one-time event for him.
For one-time ones, we haven't really charged that way, but
I don't know if we had a city staff person there just to let them in and close up the building or not. I don't know if this would be a regular monthly event or something. It's Gina Nielsen, I don't know, Constitutional Party or a group like that.
Well, I'm
We can
happy to.
talk further.
Ryan and I can go over that policy and we can bring it forward to you to look at if you want to start going down that road. That would be fine, but it just takes some guidelines so that we can make sure all groups are created or treated equally.
Certainly not creative equal. We'll work on it. Thanks, Carla.
Okay,
All right, Rob, are you on board with us?
I am here.
You're still in the outback.
Can everybody hear me okay?
You can now.
Okay. Public Works, very busy. Spring is here and there's a lot going on. So the developments are starting up. Subdivisions they keep us busy. There's a lot that we do to accommodate the infrastructure that we get related to those new developments and subdivisions. They're gearing up and building all over town, as I'm sure you've noticed. We've got an agenda item coming up related to the streets and water project. I'll let Sunrise Engineering elaborate on that and chime in when that time comes, but the quotes, I believe, came in quite comparable and very well when it came to the economy of scale. I think Ryan was correct when the bigger the project, the better the bids for that type of work. So I'm optimistic on that. The reservoir project is well underway up on the north bench. The excavation is near complete. So we should be able to see the concrete crews mobilize on that project very soon. The O&M budgets, they're still well within our budget and looking pretty good. We're on track. In regards to our capital projects, we've got a few things that we're still working on. Kind of waiting for winter to pass on over to accomplish some of those, such as a new fuel station. We'll upgrade to our fuel station at the shop and a new water leak truck, I should say, that we ordered back in November. Looks like it might be delayed, like as usual when it comes to ordering new trucks these days. They seem to take a lot longer to get built than you'd anticipate. So I'm hoping that it arrives before the end of this budget come July, but I'm getting a bit worried that it may be a little later than we desire related to timelines, but it's en route. Other than that, I'm open to any specific comments or questions that I can field.
Rob, I was wondering if the clean out of the canals for Blacksmith Fork irrigation, has that completed? Have you handed that off to them for the water season?
I've been in communication with Brian and Brian with that ditch company, and we've talked about some issues that we need to hurry and address. And we've actually ran our wells. We've got all our wells up and running in the last week or so, tested them out, got them running. And whenever we do that, we kind of do a flush and purge and test. And that kind of takes a preliminary cleaning of the Blacksmith Fork Canal. And we chase the leaves through and have the entire public works kind of chase that canal stretch while we do our initial spring flushing of the wells. And so that kind of helps clear it right up initially for them. And then we'll work with them when they want to introduce the water into the canal for the season here in probably about a week or two.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Rob? Rob, we have the big dumpsters from Logan City.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to speak up.
We have the dumpsters from Logan City at the city yards.
We do. And they're already full. I'm gonna call them tomorrow morning and hopefully get them to come empty them and get them cleaned out so that we can fill them up again, because yeah, they filled up real fast this year. So the green waste cans are there, and along with the anything goes dumpster and the metal recycling dumpster is there.
I have a few things I just let Ty maybe give some, if he has anything, give him a chance. He's here. He's new with us. Anything from you before I give my report?
No, I do not have anything.
That's all right. That's all right. Just making sure I give him a chance, and he'll be with us as we move forward. So, yeah, as Rob talked about, our maintenance prices came in, and I was trying to get a pool. I don't know whether we had a winner, Rob, but I was trying to have a pool of where those numbers would come in, and so because I was offering a milkshake for whoever came in the closest. So we'll see if anybody else put into that pool. So, but I think it was right within what we expected it to be. So anyway, the next one is fiber. We'll talk a little bit. We may not talk on that one tonight, but I'll give you a little update. Our bonds were sold Tuesday. We sold $7.7 million in bonds at 2.07%, just under 2.06 something, but just under 2.07%. We have issued the notice to proceed for construction to start. And so things should pick up there. Anybody that hasn't, and I do this for both those that are here as well as online. So I'm going to pull this up. We have a website for people that would like to sign up for service. It's called providence.fibertomycity.com. At this point, we have 318 that have signed up for service. It's the soft commitment, but it does say and ask them to commit to the service they want to sign up for. And we do have a somewhat of a competition. What we have is we have the different service areas. We have the city broken up into 5 different service areas. And this would be based on design and construction. And so we have gone around, separate them up into similar size population areas. And for our construction and design, we will follow designing based on highest interest. And so at this particular time, zone 1 is at 30% interest, zone 2 at 21, zone 3 at 19. I should share this. Sorry about that. I'll read it off. I should have shared it on my screen. I'll do that better next time. Zone 4 is 11%, and zone 5 is 25% or 24%. So at that point, zone 1 is in the lead, and that is the south bench at 30%. So that's 30% towards the goal. Goal is 50% of the residents. So the goal is 50%. So that means 15% of the residents have signed up in that area, which is pretty good. So we're happy with the start. We will continue to roll out, and as we do construct, we believe that more and more will come online. So we do believe that to be success at this point. So anyway, any that are interested there can visit that site. Again, it's providence.fibertomycity.com. So anyway, a few other comments. The transportation master plan is proceeding. It will be on the agenda tonight, later. The sewer master plan is being drafted, and we should see probably a draft, maybe the next council meeting. We did go in and put in additional meters upstream in order to identify zones where we may be seeing an excess of effluent because of other ways that effluent is coming into the system, whether that's through infiltration or through stormwater or through whatever it may be. We're trying to identify and isolate that. So we have a bit more work that based on our results, we have gone a little farther and deeper into that. Just some more on master plans. The water and stormwater master plans, we've added them to the CIB project list. for potential funding. So we would expect that probably in June, we would apply for a grant for half the cost of water. And then probably October or February, depending, we would apply for the stormwater. The cemetery mapping, in preparation for that master plan, cemetery mapping is being done by Justin in our office, and he's making some great progress there. So anyway, that is coming, and he will help so that master plan will be a lot less because of his efforts there. So we're excited about that. On the employee side, we have a training that we're going to roll out. And one of those trainings is some of the mandatory trainings. We have the trust, which is our insurance, and we will roll out the mandatory training so that we can record, track, and follow up based on that. So anyway, that's mandatory trainings. Again, with employees, we have both our recorder and treasurer that we have now on staff with us. We talked about that at our last council. So anyway, both are doing very well in their transition to that. Some of the other grants we're working on, we have submitted a couple, or at least one on ours, and support on another for the outdoor recreation grants. We're still waiting to hear on those. We are working to submit a grant for the bike lanes that were identified in the Trails Recreation Master Plan, as well as that are identified in the Transportation Master Plan. That would be through CMAQ, which is a similar, but it's being run through CMPO, called kind of a spot, but it is federal money, and it is about a $470,000 grant that we're looking to do there. It would also build the trail through the Zollinger Park. So that would build that, as well as the bike paths and trails. Budget, we're on track there, as Robert said, with his department. But overall, we are doing well. I am building some of the preliminary stuff for the budget and putting in the master plan detail information, and we'll meet with each of the department heads and employees in the coming weeks, and then we'll bring it back to you in May, the preliminary back in May. So some of the other things, we've worked with the elementary school with fixing the bus parking. So we've been in contact with the school district and the principal there to address those issues. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at with some of those things. We are still waiting to hear about the change application for our water in Spring Creek. So I haven't heard whether that's been approved yet. We're still waiting. So we have had good response to any of the requests. So we're hoping that takes place fairly soon. Anyway, any questions you have for me? Yep.
Question. Have you heard from any the homeowners associations? We've got Creekside, we've got Cobblestone, we've got some apartments. Have we heard any interest?
We have heard questions more than interest on the fiber. There has been some concerns on how it would work, and but we haven't had any of them sign up. They are in an area that, as far as connection and what I showed, most of them are in that lowest of sign up areas. But we have had some discussion, but I wouldn't say it's great on either side.
So my question is, are we going to bring a trunk line to the edge of their property so in the future they can connect if they choose to? And the reason I'm asking the question is, you're down the road, they have a lot of interest on the part of the residents, and they're saying, how come we're not getting fiber? And we again tell them it's something you need to provide to your residents. We don't want to be in a position where we have to go back and saw cut some of Rob's asphalt streets, because I know he won't be happy.
All of
And he'll
our
wanna
streets,
know,
yes.
why didn't this get done before when the crew is out?
At this point, in the contract, we would be connecting those onto the system fully, rather than just putting a trunk line, because we have expected 2,700 connection points. So we are expecting that we would be connecting those. But if they said no, it is a private street, then we would deal accordingly. But we will have to work with them.
Bring it to the edge of the property.
We'll bring it to the edge of their property at a minimum. At a minimum, that will take it to the edge of the property. Most likely,
It won't affect
we'll
city
take it in.
streets because it'll be done. the first
City
row-
street will be
first
done.
row.
City street will be done. But if they come on and want us to go through, we do have that with inside the contract to proceed through. So we could, but anyway. Other questions for me? Anything else?
Go ahead, Joe.
I have a couple of questions. I'll start with fiber. My first question is, when do you expect construction to begin? And will the TAC be involved in engineering discussions?
So I have sent out notice and information for the TAC. We have agreed and talked with them about having them involved at least up through the first section of design. That design is nearly ready to be sent back to that group, and we're just waiting to get that from Strat. I have talked to them in the last couple of days about having that ready for the TAC to look at and digest. So yes to that question. Second question was when they would start. I would expect, and I'm hoping to see them start in May at some level, because we would like to have them ahead of the construction project that Rob and I have talked a little bit about. We'll talk more about as we proceed forward. But we need them ahead of that in a number of things. So they should be starting to mobilize within the next maybe month. And by the end of May, I would expect that we'll see some conduit actually in the ground, potentially. So.
My next question is about the bike lanes. How much do you think that grant will cover?
It is a 93% grant. So the number I threw out was the amount of the grant, and we would have a 7% match to that.
I guess I should make my question more clear. How many of the bike lanes?
Oh, no, that's fair. So yeah, sorry about that.
No.
So at that point, it will cover three main east-west routes. One, we tried to have north, central, and southern, so we could connect east and west in 3 spots. And I apologize, I didn't pull up that map. And then on Gateway Drive to extend what Logan has done to theirs and bring that on through to the south of, so that far. It won't connect every route, but we believe it will connect and do the major routes so that we would have 3 east, west, and really end up with 2 north, south with the counties when they do theirs. So we'd have Gateway and Second West as the north, south. So I guess maybe 40% of our total routes, 40 to 50% of our total routes. But I don't believe it goes up. I don't believe it goes up to Canyon Road. It ends that's the shortest of the east-west routes, is on the south side, is the shortest of those. So I don't think it proceeds all that way. I have to look exactly how far, but I can get you that. But, yep. Any other questions? Okay.
Further questions for Ryan? Next, we have approval of the minutes. We had 2 council meetings in March. We had our regular council meeting on March 17th. We were late into the hour. Second council meeting on the 24th. We addressed one single agenda item. So I need a motion to approve the minutes for March 17th and March 24th. And then we can discuss any possible revisions, changes, corrections. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for March 27th and March 24th, 2021.
Motion from Councilmember Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second, but it's March 17th.
March 17th.
Motion, second from Councilmember Sealy. Anybody find any corrections, changes, revisions that we need to take a look at here? The one item that we covered on the council meeting of the 24th, I think we were done in 15 minutes, but it addressed an issue having to do with the bonds. And that was to proceed with the last 5 steps to for the bond issuance. Okay, I don't hear any comments from the council, so can I have a vote? All in favor of approving the minutes of the 17th and the 24th? Signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? Passes unanimous. Thank you. All right, we have a public hearing this evening. I'll just go ahead and read what this is. It's an annexation. And this is an annexation petition. It's a request from the property owner for the city to consider annexation prior to making a decision on granting the annexation petition and assigning a land use zone requested by Jack Nixon for Bear Nixon Inc. City Council is holding a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for anyone interested to comment on the annexation before the action is taken. Property described in the annexation petition contains parcel number 02-111-0006, located adjacent to the east boundary of Providence City in the general area of 900 East Eagleview Drive, containing 17.72 acres. The petitioner is requesting single-family traditional zoning. City Council invites you to offer your comments by email to providencecityutah@gmail.com or text to 435-752-9441. Brian, do we have anybody Zooming with us? Any?
If you're on Zoom and would like to comment, please raise your hand, and I'll let the mayor know. But then if there's been any comments submitted to Scarlett, she'd need to make those. Scarlett, do you have any comments that came to you on this one?
I do. I just forwarded the email a few minutes ago to everyone that's down there. We received an email from Julie Hollist Terrell. She says, my husband and I live at 781 Eagleview Drive, and we are extremely opposed to the annexation and therefore most likely future development of the 17.72 acres of land on 900 East and Eagleview Drive. We live on the corner of Eagleview and Sherwood. We moved in 4 years ago before the construction in the Little Baldy subdivision. We were unaware of those plans at the time. With Sherwood now extended to the north and dropping down through Providence Hollow, we have experienced an enormous increase in traffic. Pickup trucks with large diesel engines have found some sort of boundless joy by gutting their engines from newly installed stop sign on our corner. We hear them day and night and the middle of the night, which means they wake us up. which makes it difficult to wake up on the right side of the bed. The stop sign was unnecessary until the increased development to the north we have been forced to embrace. We have also encountered a dramatic increase in loud engine noise stemming from off-road vehicles, dirt bikes, and razors. Apparently, the new display of impressive homes in Little Baldy has piqued the curiosity of all sorts of people gawking at the new construction because we've seen all sorts of traffic doing just that. In addition, our concern about increased traffic, we've already noticed a decrease in wildlife and birds because of the new construction. No more wild sunflowers, no more pheasants, less deer, although I confess that kind of makes me happy. Less meadowlarks, we're just beginning to see additional effects because of the construction is happening so quickly and we haven't been through 4 seasons to experience the full impact. Oh yeah, probably we'll get lots more snakes because they are being driven out of their natural habitat. The entire habitat along the foothills will be compromised, as well as producing an increased fire danger due to houses being constructed right against the mountains. We have already experienced tremendous growth in our immediate vicinity, but allowing more development farther up the mountain is a mistake. We again submit our respectful opposition to the annexation of the land on 900 East and Eagle View Drive. Thank you for listening to our concerns and for your thoughtful review of the many challenging situations. They said that they will be unable to attend the public hearing tonight, but please call us with any questions. We also received a email from Mimi Ricker. Ryan, is Mimi, she often joins us. Is Mimi on? If she's on, I won't read her email, but if she's not, I will.
I do not see a hand raised
Okay.
from her. So if she's on, it doesn't say her name. So I do not believe so.
Okay, so Mamie would like to start by saying thank you for your service. She's writing regarding item number 3, the annexation on the Providence City Council agenda. I'm writing to express my opposition to this annex. The city is not required to annex for any reason. This annexation will result in a serious degradation of the quality of life in Providence. With a SFT zoning, this development would add approximately 70 homes to an area under already severe strain. Traffic. There are 2 egresses, with the most likely being Center Street, an already heavily used road through residential neighborhoods and past the elementary school. This would add another 500 car trips per day, leading to a very unsafe situation. Infrastructure and water. Does the city have sufficient to accommodate yet another large subdivision? Green space. Is the developer or the city truly going to develop and maintain any significant green space as part of their development? Earthquake safety, mudslides, and erosion concerns. Has the safety of that area as a prospective development site truly been evaluated? In their deliberations, I urge the council members to consider not annexing. Again, there is no requirement to do so. Failing that, please consider the single-family large zone district. This zoning was often in consideration for new developments in the best bench areas with less infrastructure, but since its creation has been seldom applied. This seems like a good place to consider it. Thanks for considering my comments, Mimi Ricker. And those are the only 2 emails that I've received either through Providence City, Utah@gmail.com or my sbankhead@providence.utah.com that were pertinent to tonight's meeting.
I believe we have Alex on that is the applicant. If I don't know whether you recognize him with a public hearing or later.
So I think Alex, you're probably available for questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So we had 2 emails that were read into the record. Brian, do we have anybody that raised their hand that wants to speak?
Actually, Alex is the only one. So there you go.
So other than that, we have no other comments for the public hearing.
Unless Alex has any.
What's that?
I said, unless Alex has any.
I do. Yeah. So I appreciate your guys' time and consideration on this. What we're doing and what we're planning to do up there, we want a nice development. And I'm familiar, obviously, with the area. I grew up in that area. Just like these people, there was development that occurred right after, while I was growing up there. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate the concerns. And I just want everyone to know that we want and we plan to do a very nice subdivision. We want to incorporate the trail into the subdivision. And I really haven't seen that in Providence. And so, especially up along the deer fence there. And that's something we want to do. We want to make it really nice. So, and one of the other things that we've looked at is the potential for a park up there. And some of you are aware that we have potentially discussed that and the option there. And we would actually love to work with the city to do that. We think that would really be beneficial, but that's really all I have to say. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer. And yeah, again, thank you for your time. So
We'll have an agenda item besides the public hearing, so we can have a discussion amongst ourselves, council members, when we get to that agenda item. What's that? Still not loud enough? Okay. I'll try harder. Maybe I need to stand up. Okay. Hearing that there are no further comments, we can go ahead and close the public meeting. Public hearing. Not going to close the public meeting for a while. And we'll move on. So the first item is to consider this parcel of property that we just discussed during the public hearing. I'll go ahead and read this item. Item number 4, ordinance number 2021-008. The Providence City Council will consider
205.
I'm sorry. May take action on an ordinance granting the annexation petition and assigning a single-family traditional zone for parcel 02-111-0006 located adjacent to the east boundary of Providence City in the general area of 900 East Eagle View Drive, containing 17.72 acres. Do I have a motion on the annexation petition?
I can make a motion that we approve item number 4, ordinance number 2021-005.
Motion from Council Member Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Council Member Paulson. Further questions, discussion, questions of Scarlett on this, on land use issues. This is single family, 12,000 square feet. Lot size or larger. Scarlett, anything else you want to tell us about this development? And then after that, Ryan, I know that this has come up about possibly park space. You tell us where that's at. Scarlett, anything about this development? This parcel?
I would just refer to the general plan. The general plan does show this area as part of our annexation policy area. And it also does show this area coming in as single family traditional. So it is keeping with the general plan. A quick reminder, when Janelle contacted me earlier today, Janelle, did you get that email that I sent about the analysis of the hazard area and things like that?
Yes, I did.
So when you look at this piece of property, while they'll be able to make, if you annex it and it comes in for development, they would be able to make a really nice development. However, there is a significant amount of this property that does fall under the hazard slope ordinance. And that acreage is not allowed to be included in the available acreage for density. And I don't know for sure on the amount, just estimating based off the parcel zoning viewer. It's almost a third of the property, so that's pretty significant. And then when you take out the amount that they would need to put in for streets, I'm not a developer, but we've been told that that's about 20% for right of way and things like that. So you take another little bit out, that reduces the amount. So probably in the single family traditional zone, you may get 34 lots somewhere in that area because of the hazard slope area. Now that's, I'm very cautious about saying that because once their plat comes in and they've actually had it surveyed, a lot of this is based on the representation on the county's parcel zoning viewer. So it could come in a little differently than that, but the potential to develop all 17 acres into houses, that isn't there because of the slope area along the east side of that property. As far as our infrastructure goes, this property has been considered in our in all of our plans because it has been on our annexation policy plan for quite a few years. Rob could speak better to that, but it has been included in our planning for some time. And that's all I have, unless you have specific questions.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Mine, to answer the question you asked me, we have sat down. I've sat down with Jack and Alex and have talked about a preliminary layout. And I think I've sent the preliminary layout that MHTN did for us of a park. And we shared that with them. And at this point, it is back in design to be able to see how we could fit as many houses and a park into the area. So we are in continuing discussions, but I don't believe we're at an offer at this point. But we are absolutely open to those or other areas, and we have identified a few other areas that we're also looking at and discussing. But anyway, but as he brings it up, that is where we're at this point. So nothing assured.
You're looking at purchasing a piece for a city park or an HOA park?
No, that would be a city park is what we've talked about. So, and some of it, because if we had something like an amphitheater, we could do that on sloped and not really disturb a lot of the slope. We could benefit by that slope, but building construction can't be done in the same manner. So park usage over a fault line is different. Usage on a slope can be different. So there's some discussion, but it hasn't. I
So
would
when
say
the big quake comes, there's not a house on it.
you would rather it be under a park, right?
A zip line.
At some point, once we get that far into the detail, we could certainly talk about a number of things. But I think at this point, we're still fairly preliminary.
I've got a question for you, Ryan.
Yes.
It's Josh. So the details of the park, though, that could be done in I'm assuming an annexation agreement or something. We don't necessarily need to specify that here yet regarding making this decision.
Yeah, we wouldn't need to specify that here. And even in an annexation agreement, unless we were going to require a park, it wouldn't necessarily even be in the annexation. This would be a negotiated purchase of land by the city.
Okay, understood.
It would
And
be
the other one,
irrelevant to this, but
This
yeah,
would happen
after the annexation, after that.
Great. I can't hear the mayor.
You're welcome to move right here, Mayor. Oh, sorry.
Take my footrest.
Yeah, so you can move the
So I was
further.
assigned a seat and it was the end of the table. So That was my first choice.
You can sit at the end of the table, you just won't have a voice.
Come sit right here. Carrie is
But he'll keep talking, so we just will hear him.
So Josh, Carrie is covering her ear. I'm shouting so loud.
I thought that was a special mom skill that you could tune people out if you needed to. You can just like,
Oh, it is, and you know how loud my children are. There's your water, Mayor.
While the mayor's relocating, one other thing I would like to mention. Previously, Jack Nixon has allowed access along the deer fence for fire safety purposes, and that would continue. I know that was one of the concerns that was brought up in a couple of the comments. So part of that development, and this wouldn't need to be in an annexation either, because it just has to be, it's part of the way we deal with the hazard or the wildland fire area. There would be, the developer will have to make provisions to continue that access so that the bush trucks can get through there. They would have to recognize the deer fence trail, similar to how it was done in the Little Baldy subdivision. So those amenities, there's already provisions that have been discussed to keep those type of amenities in place.
So Scarlett, what you're saying is the deer fence trail goes pretty much right through the middle of this property.
I have a question, Ryan.
No,
No,
it's above the property. It's right on the
Oh, it's
top
above
part.
it?
Brett,
It goes through the property.
Brent has a question.
No, the top.
Brent has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Brent.
Is the developer bringing water to the city?
At that point, that would be during the process, but is that included, Scarlett, in it? How much water would come?
Well, part of the reason why we don't know how much water will come right now is because that's based on, our water calculation is based on residential units and then the amount of development property after that. One of the things that you subtract out of that development property is public space. So if a deal is negotiated on the park space, then we would have to talk about that. But as part of any development, whether it's annexed or not, as part of any development, there's a water requirement. So the developer will have to meet whatever water requirement once we get their development plan, and they can judge on the number of homes and the size of lots that they're going to present. Then they will calculate what the water requirement is, and they would dedicate water, either water shares, water rights, or a fee in lieu. They'd work with Rob as the Public Works Director as the Culinary Water Authority. And the way the ordinance reads, that's who they work with to make that determination. And then the council sees that as part of the development agreement. You see that in the several development agreements we have tonight. So that's not necessarily a condition of annexation anymore. It's something that's written right into our development ordinances.
I just want to make sure there's going to be water available to be brought to the city, and if this moves forward. The next thing I have a question about is we saw with another subdivision that Jack did, he went in and changed the entire scope of the land. And he filled and cut, and it was hard to tell it. The whole scope of the land changed. So those areas that had steep slopes changed. Is that the plan for this, Alex?
No, that's not really the plan. We may have there may be some aspects of the development where we're leveling off these lots and just kind of padding them so that they're nice and they're buildable, and people don't have to spend $30,000 or $40,000 when they go in there to, on top of the lot price, to go and build the home they want. But we want to, aesthetically, we want the layout to present itself nice aesthetically. We don't plan on mowing over mountains, and frankly, it's not even financially feasible to do that. So it may have been back then, but it's not the case anymore. So
How many lots do you anticipate, Alex?
It's totally dependent on a number of variables, really. I mean, if we do this park deal and it works out, it could totally change the scope of that.
I think
So,
you got an idea. You wouldn't be moving forward if you didn't have an idea what you're going to get out of it.
okay. So I do have a preliminary layout. Yeah. That includes 26 lots right now. So, but again, that is just a complete concept. So there are so many variables that could change that I really wouldn't feel comfortable saying, just being honest. That's a tough thing to determine. So
I understand that, Alex. You just had one of the, in the public hearing, you had someone voice 70 homes up there. I just wanted to try and get a number from the developer
yeah,
on the table so that it was more something that we could, I am not going to hold you to 26 lots, 27 maybe, but
yeah.
that's a joke.
So the slopes wouldn't even allow us, like, and Scarlett kind of addressed that, the slopes would not even allow us to go over, I think, even 33 lots, frankly. I don't think that it's even possible. So if that helps.
On the land that's got the slopes and I'm just trying to get, not that I'm trying to identify this on annexation, but I do have a concern about wildland, the grasses and that sort of thing that's going to be around these homes. Two things: protection of the wildland, and the second thing is protection of the homes. People's getting a lot of money into those homes. They don't want some grassland fire burning the homes down. By the same token, we don't want grassland or people burning the grassland down. As you develop this, I would encourage you very strongly to look at that relationship and that interface between the wildland and the homes, and the interface of the construction of the homes in relation to the fire area that you're building in. And that's probably something you're going to have to talk about as you go through a development agreement, but that's very important in that area.
Our plan would actually, and I think that will just be mitigated by default. I think we will improve the trail somehow, and to what extent, I don't want to even dare go into right now, but I think that itself is going to be a fire break. And again, those are things that we've considered and looked at. But
are you taking out the deer fence, or are you leaving it in?
If we ever took it out, if that was the case, then we would replace it. So, and we may look at that, but I hate to go into that during the annexation process because I don't want that to.
I don't have a voice in the rest of your development. I'm just curious.
Yeah. We want it to be nice up there. And so, yeah, if there was a reason to remove that fence at all, we would replace it with something probably that was a lot more better aesthetically, but served the same purpose. So.
All right. Thank you.
Taking over then for Jack, right? And doing the developing?
I am, yeah. And Jack is still around. He's 90. He's at the office every single day, and he is not going away. So, but yeah, that I am. I'll be handling everything with it. So.
So I wasn't clear. Does the deer fence trail go through the property or not?
The deer fence trail does go through the property.
Okay,
so it does.
Here's my next question. Once upon a time, when Stan Checketts was talking about developing his property, we had council chambers, and Scarlett will remember it, packed with people who were afraid that Stan was going to make the deer fence trail go away. And what it came down to is Stan said, as that develops his property, that he would pay money to relocate the deer fence trail so it followed the contour of the base of the mountains. In other words, much of it would shift to the east. So now we're back to another parcel of land along the deer fence developing. Instead of going through the property, And you may want to keep that there and Brent can weigh in on this, so that the county fire trucks, the brush trucks have access to go through the property in case there's a grass fire, brush fire, maintain that just for fire access.
Yeah.
But the trail, we go back to the question about the trail, and I don't know where Stan is or where that discussion's gone about further development of that trail on the base of the mountains. Right now,
Yeah.
I don't know where Stan's at as far as selling all those parcels up there, but some of those people probably have an expectation that it's theirs and they're not interested in allowing access. So Stan realized that, and that's why he made that offer. And it was a bunch of people that were mountain bikers, trail runners, and people like Josh Paulson, who just waved his hand. So the concern is, and there was a pretty vocal group of people that wanted to see that deer fence trail be maintained. And actually, they were very pleased with the idea of Stan relocating the trail. It actually would have been a better trail, but the question came up about the other property owners. Now, fast forward to today, and now we're looking at a parcel of property that trail is incorporated as part of.
My comment to that would be, we view the trail completely as an asset. Like I'm a chubby runner. Okay. I'm not like Josh, and he's really fit. But I try. Okay. No, but I enjoy the trails. I love running, and I want that. And we see that, frankly, as a huge benefit. And it's really something that we want as part of the development. And so we see it as an asset, and improving it. We're doing a subdivision right now called Juniper Trails in Hyde Park. We're actually requiring anyone who buys a lot that borders that, we're actually improving the trail for the city, but then we're requiring a certain type of fencing along there just to keep it aesthetically nice, so that people aren't putting up a white vinyl fence and then a gray one next to it, and then you got chain link. We want it to be continuous and look very nice aesthetically, and if we mess with the trail, we will certainly, if anything, upgrade it substantially. So
I'm glad you want to keep the trail. My question is there some coordination between property owners along the trail? So there's Stan.
Where's Stan?
There's
yeah,
Stan,
where's Stan?
Your property, and then there's property further to the north.
Yeah, I think I obviously will have no control over that, but certainly I would coordinate with them to reconnect, whether they decide that they want to upgrade their portion of it or change it to bump it a little farther away from their homes. I obviously would have no control over that, but yeah, we would coordinate with the neighboring parcels for sure. So.
Mayor, the neighboring parcels have an easement. If you'll recall, when we approved Little Baldy, they had to provide an actual easement for that brush truck road. I think there's one parcel that had already changed hands before we worked with the fire department on that. But the homes in Little Baldy, and that's one thing that as they've come in for their building permits, that's one thing that's been high on the list as we talk to the people about their lots, is that they understand that even if the trail is relocated, the brush truck easement stays in place. So those things are already in place, working with the Logan City Fire Department, the Cache Fire Department, and the wildland area. We're really trying to stay on top of that as best we can.
So as a property owner, I can understand agreeing to an easement for the brush trucks if you own the property. And to Brent's point, you want the county fire people to be able to get up there if there's a fire on your property, and you've got however many acres. But at the same time, is that easement also, is that mean the property owners are agreeing to keep that trail open to the public going forward, as well as the fire trail access?
That the agreement that was recorded with the plat says that that trail will remain in place. The agreement that was recorded with the Little Baldy plat says that trail will remain in place until it is relocated. And there's not a time frame that said it had to relocate within X amount of time that I can remember. I'll have to look at that, but I don't think we put a time frame on it. So that is part of that plat process with Little Baldy, and we would probably do something very similar with Alex and crew, unless they do like they're talking and they create an amenity, and then we would probably still have them give some kind of a public easement so that somebody along the way couldn't decide to close off the amenities. So those are things that we will take care of as part of the development and the platting process. But a little bit of that is already in place that they'll have to live up to, just to keep in line with the ordinances and previous agreements.
I had a question related to the trail as well. You said that you wanted to keep it available. Do you plan on having like a access point to the trail through the development? The trailhead?
Yeah, we do. We do actually. That would be a component. And we, in talking about the park up there, Ryan actually already implemented that in potential park layout and plan. And so we love that part of it. But either if we do not end up with the park, we will do that. And again, that's what we're doing in Hyde Park. We're creating some trailheads along throughout this development. And then as far as access, we're actually doing some sewer laterals in the back that are on the trail. So there's enough access. Any trails that we build out, we are building them wide enough for a truck or a vehicle to get down. And we would do the same thing here. That would be the plan. But yeah, there would be multiple accesses. If your lot borders the trail, there would be direct access from your lot is what we would like to do. So
Be accessed by the public, be accessed by the private homeowners.
well, yes, but just where those parcels are, but we would also build in a public access to that as well. So
I just wondered about lot size with the slopes. Do you anticipate having larger lots just to incorporate those slopes, or?
yeah, again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but yeah, there are some larger lots up there. In the preliminary concept, there are some that are 1.5 acres even, but yeah, there are so many variables to that I would hesitate to commit to anything.
So that does prompt a question for me, one I had for Scarlett, and that was, Scarlett, I believe under current zoning and code, they can do lot size averaging. And if we have lots that incorporate the hazardous slopes at 1 acre, 1.5 acres, those would be considered in the lot size averaging for SFT density. Is that right?
Well, in order to utilize the portion of the property, even if it's included in a lot, the portion of the property that's in that 30% or greater slope zone, they can't utilize that as part of the density. So
they can't use it as, can they utilize it as, they can't use it lies. Oh, so I'm not sure.
So they can't use it in the averaging. They can't
use it in the averaging. Okay,
they
that'll
can't
answer
use
my question.
the non-developable portion in the averaging. And even if they
Good.
do lot size averaging without it, they cannot go below 12,000 square feet. So they can do some things with the frontage, but they can't go below 12,000 square feet as far as
Great.
minimum.
Thank you.
Lot size.
That was my only question. I'm ready to vote if we get to that point.
Are you planning to incorporate green space specifically into the development?
can you say that again, please?
Are you planning to incorporate green space areas specifically into the development, or is your trail improvements mostly what you're considering?
The trail improvement, there's naturally, if you look at the parcels, they're naturally going to include green space. I'm not going to say that it's improved green space. It's really the side of the mountain, but yeah, I mean, the trail is the main focus for us. We would like to have some green space. And again, that's why we really like this idea of the park up there, because we view it as such a huge amenity to the neighborhood and to the community. And that would ultimately be the green space. But if not, then yeah, the trail is our main focus, and you're going to have some of the mountainside there. So.
Josh. Okay. Any further comments or questions, Ryan?
I'm good.
All right, I think we're good. All right, can I call for a vote? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2021-005, and that's granting annexation petition and assigning single-family traditional zone for parcel 02-111-006, located adjacent to the east boundary of Providence City. All in favor of approving the annexation ordinance 2021-005, signify by saying aye.
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 I,
Any opposed?
I voted yay or
Okay.
aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you all. Alex, thank you for being available for questions. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, let's move on. All right, we've got second annexation request. We have 3 tonight. And this gets a little bit more complicated. Item number 5, resolution 026-2021, annexation for further consideration. This is different than the previous one. This means the staff will consider, do their homework and research and report back to the council, make a recommendation. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution accepting a petition for annexation for further consideration for parcel numbers 02-089-019 and 02-090-0002, 02-090-0005, 02-090-0008, 02-090-0009, 02-090-0010, 03-002, 0003, 03-002, 004, located adjacent to the southwest boundary of the city in the approximate area of 900 west, 300 south, and 500 south, and State Highway 165 containing 88.58 acres. This is the west side of the highway across Highway 165. The council has a map in their package. And if you're looking at it, the left side is north. And just to orient, it's across the highway from Zions Bank. And on our side, it's 300 south. On the other side of the highway, it's the county designation 1700 south. We have 3 property owners. And one of the property owners is here tonight with us. So this is only a recommendation and a request to the city staff to do their homework and report back to the council. Okay, so I'll call for a motion on this.
I'll make a motion, Mayor.
Motion from Council Member Spath. Do I have a second?
Make his motion.
Not repeating all that.
You didn't want to repeat all.
Just name the resolution number.
Just name, yeah.
Okay, resolution 026-2021.
All right.
I approve we adopt this resolution. Approve it.
I have a second. Second from Council Member Sealy. Okay, Scarlett, you want to give us an outline?
This still will start the process. Tyler will work with the county and the city attorney, and of course, the staff will support Tyler in that. as the city recorder, though Tyler will be the one that will go through this annexation petition. There's a couple of things we need to look at. We need to look and compare this and make sure that all of these parcels are within our annexation policy boundary. We'll consider the request for a couple of them. The zoning, I think, is a little bit different than the general plan, but we haven't done any of that until you give us the go-ahead to start. So there are a few things we will be looking at. I noticed today an email came from Cache County regarding 300 South. It is typical that when a community annexes unincorporated property, if it's adjacent to a county road, the county encourages strongly the community to take over that road. This one is straddling. There's parcels on both sides of 300 South. The county road is included as part of this annexation. To the west, where the road is not included, according to the parcel zoning viewer, that portion of 1700 South is in Logan City. So this would, the way this annexation is drawn, it would include the city taking the remainder of 300 South to where it hits Logan City's boundary. So it would 1700 South will turn into 300 South from Logan Extermination west to where the road starts in Logan City. But other than that, we have not delved into this as far as does it meet all of our requirements. This is just waiting for you to give us that go ahead. I'm sorry, did somebody ask a question?
No, not yet.
Okay.
David,
For those of us, oh, Ryan, just for those of us on Zoom, I think we're looking at your browser window right now. It's a screen share. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, can you see the map?
Nope,
No.
I just see an ugly picture of me frozen on the screen.
Well, that's not what I wanted. Wow.
I don't want it either. There we go.
Let me, you can't see it now, right?
Right.
No.
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
That's
Can you see
Yes,
that now?
we can.
Sorry about that. That's what I was hoping you were seeing.
So
Well,
that
we got
little,
it fixed. Thank
that little pink area where it says 1700 South, that is included within the boundaries of the annexation. So that the city's intent is that we would annex that portion of 1700 South along with the properties. The way the map is drawn, it's included. We'll make sure the legal description does that.
It's not county road.
Yeah, that's Logan City there, I think.
So Charlotte, to the east of the pink 1700 South, that's already in Providence, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So the only issue the county has is that short portion there where it says 1700 South in pink.
Unless the view of that they've got drawn on the parcel viewer, unless there's a little bit of an error, the way they've got this shown, then yes, the only part that's remaining right now that's county appears to be that pink part. And the way it's highlighted, that's the way the county recognizes it. And that pink part, if you look at your map, you can see that road is between, it's within the hard boundary of the annexation. So we're definitely including that portion of 1700 South in the annexation.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. We're including this tongue area that's going where the red on 1700 South is, and we're going that width all the way to the north. Is there some reason why we're not including is this already in? That's the east portion of that?
This is already in.
That's already in. Okay.
Correct. This has already been annexed and so is this. So this just extends out. And really, this is all the county. That black is the county boundary. And it finishes off the annexation from county into city and would complete the connection there. We've left an island over here. And I think there may be an island down below, but I'm not sure of that. No, I'm getting enough. So
Ryan,
that finishes the annexation from the county into the cities.
so does this include south of Jerry Fickus and across Mallard Spring there and that parcel of ground right there?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Does that all belong to Alders?
No,
No,
three property owners.
So it's
And they-
other people annexing as well.
yes, and they've all signed the petition as well,
Okay.
Brent.
Okay, great. All right. That's just what I was curious about.
So I would way rather have this in Providence than in Logan. And
Or
then we
Mil-
have
or Milton.
control over it. So, yeah, seems exciting to me. It seems like really great for Providence.
And again, this is a preliminary step of accepting the petition. Ty would take this because it's annexation. So going forward, we're training Ty to answer. We'll train him to answer some of questions as things go. But this is just preliminary acceptance of a petition.
I think I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
So Brent had a question, so we had to listen. to what Brent said. Any further questions or comments? All right, now let's go ahead and call for a vote on this. Try to get my screen. Oh, here we go. All right, resolution 026-2021, and that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parcels of property west side of the highway. And this resolution is to accept a petition for annexation for further consideration. All in favor of approving the resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. We're moving on. All right, we have another annexation item. Item number 6, resolution 010-2021, municipal boundary line adjustment. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution stating the city's intent to adjust a common boundary between Providence City and Millville City involving parcel number 02-117-0015 and 02-117-0020 located in the general area of 600 South, 285 West and 645 South, 200 West. Scarlett, you want to, we've visited this issue before. You want to bring us back to where we were?
So if you remember, and I'm pretty sure Mike Zollinger is available for questions if you need him. But if you remember, a couple of months ago, Mike came in with a request to adjust a small rectangle piece that was in Providence City. And with the recent annexation that Millville City did, he was hoping that we would move that boundary and that little rectangle piece could go into Millville and they could incorporate that into I think it's a 3 or a 5 lot subdivision, I think, in Millville City. As part of those discussions, the Guyman property came up and access to the Guyman property came up. And it appeared that the Guyman property would, in theory, be landlocked. The only way it would be accessed is through Providence City. During that meeting, you asked if I would contact them. I did contact the Guymans. I talked with them for a little bit. They, in turn, contacted Millville City. And after speaking with them, the Guymans, which is part of that recent annexation into Millville, feel that it would be better for them to, for us to include them in a boundary line adjustment and they would like to take their property and put it into Providence City. And so then, I'm sorry, Ryan, is there a way you can move that parcel zoning viewer to the west just a little bit? Thank you. So that piece right there, where Ryan, or right there at the end of 285 south, just south of 575, yes, right there, that's the Guyman piece. So now the line, as you go down just a little bit to the south, Ryan, and go along that yellow line, now there's a black line that shows that that little rectangle is in Millville. The line between the two cities now would be that yellow line that just goes straight across. And that, if you, now this is just the first step in this process too. You're passing a resolution saying that it's your intent to adjust the boundary with Millville on these two pieces. You're not actually adjusting. There will be noticing. Ty again is going to get involved in this. He will send noticing, and they've changed the notice requirements, so we'll follow the new changes. But you'll get another opportunity before you actually do make this adjustment. And just so you know, at the same time we're doing our steps, Millville is taking similar steps so that they complete the process. Both cities have to go through the process. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about straightening the line instead of having kind of that little peninsula where that little jet out and then the Guyman property jet out. It'll just be that straight line right along there. And I will say that this property, all of that property was actually in Providence City's annexation policy plan. So moving this property back into Providence is not a problem as far as planning went, because we had actually intended for the Guyman property to come into Providence all along. So it is included in our plans and has been. So, but it's totally up to you as a council if you want to start us down the step of the boundary line adjustment.
Scarlett,
Yes.
this is Brent. I'm in favor of making that change, that move. I think that's a good way to help resolve that issue. We talked about that before with the Guyman property and this other little parcel that goes to Millville. Now, maybe this is way too preliminary. What about road interconnectivity? Are they just going to be large lots in the Millville side that will have just a service off of that 2100 South Road, and there'd be no connectivity? Or are they planning on doing more than multiple homes in there and some streets? Do you know what their plan is?
That's probably a better question for Michael Zollinger, but my understanding is that their plan is pretty much the way that's drawn, minus the black line right there. You'd look at that yellow line that Ryan's running his cursor across a time or two, or his pointer. That's my understanding, is that one that Ryan's got his thing on it. That this point, I'm not sure if that's going to be split into 2 lots, so it's a 5 lot, or whether it's just going to be a 4 lot subdivision. But their access is coming off of what used to be 2100 South. It is a private road. That's how those 4 lots would be. Well, the furthest east one may be access off of 200 West. I don't know how Millville's treating that, but the bottom 3 would definitely access off of 2100 South, that private road. And it's my understanding they don't intend to connect with our 700 South down there at the end of 330 West. And they don't intend to have a north-south road that would connect with 285. That's why it made it difficult for the Guyman property to stay in Millville, because they wouldn't be able to have access over to the private road, 2100 South. Now, if I said anything wrong, I'm pretty sure Michael's on here that he can correct, but that's my understanding is how they plan to do it.
Scarlett, would we run into trouble having a cul-de-sac with that long of an access in the Guyman property?
285.
285.
It'll be close, but it can be done.
Okay, just as long as we're not creating a situation where we can't help the Guymans out after going through the gyrations of what we're doing, and then have to turn around and say, oh, well, sorry, we can't help you because it's too long of a cul-de-sac. Yeah.
We'll
That's-
have to look into that Brent will have to look into that and make sure, because it will be close.
All right.
And it would depend on how many lots they intend to divide it into at some point. But at this point, they can't get to it from Millville. Mike does have his hand raised, Mayor, if you want to call on him, just letting you know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hi, Mike.
All right, Mike, I've turned it on. You'll have to unmute. There you go.
Perfect. Hey, thanks for considering me again. I don't know how to turn my camera on here because I don't have that option, but yeah, what Scarlett outlined is right. Let's see, I think I just lost you.
Nope, you'll come
Oh,
back.
there.
Now you can turn on your camera.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, the 3 lots that run north and south, they'll access via 2100 South. There won't be any other lots allowed on that private lane. And then the furthest east 2 chunks will be divided into 2 1-acre lots that will essentially access their lot from Main Street in Millville or 200 West in Providence.
Mike, I got a question.
Yeah.
Matt asked about an east-west connection there. 2100 South is a private road, and it's owned by the property owners on the south edge of 2100 South. So what that means is if the property owners who purchase your development, lots in your development, they're going to have special access rights granted to them by the property owners on the south.
Yeah, and that's already been agreed to when we went through the whole, annexation and subdivision process with Millville.
Well, it's the property owners that have to agree to it.
Right, and
It's Dave Olson, and I forget who else is there.
yeah, it's Dave Olson and Rob Thomas.
We need a motion.
I'm done with all the questions. Any other questions for Mike or Scarlett? Make a motion. Somebody raise their hand. All right. Get my screen. All right. So need a motion on this resolution 010-2021 boundary line adjustment. So this is just for referral to the city staff.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 010-2021, the municipal boundary line adjustment.
Motion from
between
council member
Millville.
Eck. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from council member Seeley. Okay, further discussion? All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Mike, thanks for being available.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Looking forward to the next meeting.
I bet you do.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good night.
Oh, so we have a portion here for public comments. Why that wasn't earlier. Followed by appointments. Then we have agreements, contracts, bid awards, master plan, land development, several. Anybody want to make a public comment? Ryan, do you have anybody on
I
raising?
don't have anybody raising their hand for public comment.
The text line is available.
Have chat here. Let me see.
Chat, sorry.
What's the zoning now? Oh, that must have been on the last spot, sorry.
Mayor, I do have a public comment that just came in. It is about the annexation that we talked about, but it is a public comment that came in via the Providence City, Utah@gmail.com. It is from Christine Jackman. And I'm going, since this isn't a public hearing, I'm going to kind of paraphrase this one really quick, but she's a Providence area who would be or a Providence resident who would be very impacted with the proposed annexation above Eagle View. She's hoping for the lot sizes to be larger, so there would not be as many homes built in that area. She hopes that while we'll still have open land there, that a park and open space would be planned into it. Very important to many Providence residents that we can easily access and use the deer trail, which we'll take that into consideration.
Scarlett, that's regarding the Bear Nixon property.
Yes. And it didn't come in until just 2 minutes, or it came in at 7:35, so it just barely came in time for public comments.
Which we've already voted on. All right, no other public comments, we'll go ahead and move on. All right, we have appointments, item number 7, resolution 018-2021, certification of authorized individual. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on resolution authorizing Natalie Wood, the city treasurer, Tyler Cameron, city recorder to act on behalf of city PTIF, public treasurer's investment fund accounts. We have a motion on this to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 018-2021.
Motion from council member Paulson.
I'll second.
I think that we have a motion from council member Stout. Further discussion, questions, Ty is here. I don't know if Natalie is on with us.
I don't see her on.
Okay. Council, any questions?
One question.
Go ahead.
Do we have to formally remove Scarlett and Beth from that? Do we make a switch for that, or just?
It would naturally happen because you're defining these as your positions. So I do see a hand raised by Kindle Pace. I'm not sure if that's on this issue or not. So.
Any questions for Ty? Who's here?
Not from you, of you.
All right, we have a question on this item.
That's when the hand got raised. So
I mean,
you want to take the question?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, Kendall. Do you have a question on this issue?
I do. Is on item number 6. I put it in the message board, but it apparently didn't get through. But it was just, I'm curious on the zoning on the on that 5-acre parcel that we talked about in item number 6. I believe it's zoned for residential now. Is that what his intention is to do if it's annexed?
Did you hear that? It would be single family traditional on the general plan is what we believe. We could look that up, but that's a Guyman property. But this is initial one. So if it has a difference, it'll still have the same steps of, or similar steps to annexation, not all total, but.
Okay, so your intent is to keep it the same zoning that it is already.
Yeah.
I don't know what size requirements it is in Millville. So I don't think we could say that our intent would be to keep it the same zone that it is in Millville, but the general plan intent is to keep it the single family traditional, which would be minimum 12,000 square foot lots, which is the zone that's right there next to it. But
Okay.
I don't know what the current zoning in Millville is.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for your answer.
So Scarlett, Janelle looked it up on the general plan. It's SFR.
Oh,
So
sorry.
10,000 square foot lots and larger.
Okay.
And that's just the Guyman parcel only.
All right. Thank you for your information. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you for your question, John. All right, no further, All right, we have a motion on the table. Can we vote on this? Further questions? All right, resolution 018-2021, approving 2 authorized individuals. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed?
Aye. Not opposed. I'm in favor. Sorry.
All right, it's unanimous.
Just didn't get unmuted.
Welcome Natalie and welcome Ty. Thank you.
Mayor, why is this resolution 01018? Okay, never mind. I'm with you. Never mind. Just excuse me, will you?
All right, let's go on, move ahead. Agreements, contracts, bid awards, item number 8, resolution 2021 bid award. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution awarding the contract, the 2021 street resurfacing and improvement projects. And those bids we got today or yesterday?
We got it today.
All right, so we have 2 bidders. We have the numbers. We'll let Ryan go ahead, give us an outline, and then we'll go back and consider a resolution to approve.
Do this.
So we have Staker Parson bid, and we have LeGrand Johnson. The bids came in fairly close. I think Ryan said earlier that they were in the range of what we were expecting.
Yes. So this is a, let me see, I lost her. Others here. Okay, let me come here. Screen. And all right, if you can see this. So this is the resolution. We had 2 bidders. My estimate was, and we had, like I said, we had different estimates in the office. I believe my estimate was between 1.2 and 1.3 million. And you will see that Staker Parson came in at 1.289. And LeGrand Johnson came in at 1.217. We have gone through their bid and have made sure the math was correct. It was. And so the low bid being $1,217,858.50 would have us award it to LeGrand Johnson. And that would be our recommendation for the council to accept. So this is doing quite a bit of work. It's 20 blocks of asphalt and several different streets throughout town. It includes a water line. So some of the money will come out of the water fund budget. The rest will come out of a general fund budget. So anyway, that is what
within our budget. So we're good.
it would be in addition to, so part of it will come out of this year, but most of it will come out of next year's budget that we haven't actually approved yet. But this would be approving a budget amendment to accept this as well. So, but it does amend the budget to approve this because it hadn't been in the budget when we started.
So we're also amending the budget.
So it would do that, yes. Yes,
So is this
I don't know
gonna
that's in the
start
language.
current fiscal?
It should, depending on when they can start. Yes, we'd like to.
A portion of this, maybe we accept the low bidder, a portion of that's gonna be in fiscal year 2021.
Right, out of your capital projects fund. Yes,
So there's enough in the capital projects fund
to
to
fund
pay
it.
for it,
Yes,
to fund it.
correct.
So we've got a portion of it that we're gonna adjust in the budget because we're gonna get charged for the work they performed the current fiscal year. So we'll adjust the budget accordingly. Then the remainder of the amount that's bid will be added to the 2022 budget.
Correct. The difficulty with having a budget that goes July 1st is the construction season is from May to September, or even October. And because that construction season overlaps budgets, there is a shuffle there.
So can we mention this in the streets in the newsletter for May?
Approved in this one.
Ryan,
We're gonna
Yes.
approve one or the other, but either way, they bid on the same streets. that a yes?
These two bid on the same streets.
Right.
Yes,
So we know what streets they bid on, so we can.
yes. Yes, if this is approved, then we would do that. Scarlett, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Actually, just a comment. This doesn't actually adjust the budget. We have to have the public hearing to do that. We talked about that. And we'll do that in May. But this
Right.
this is awarding the bid so that we can adjust the budget to put the money
Right.
in so that we can pay for the work.
Right.
So
Good point. You are correct.
So
Thank you.
We can expect the contractor to start when? Have they given us an idea when they can mobilize?
They haven't, but we have required that the 100 East would be completed before school started in middle of August. So they will need to mobilize in time enough that they would be able to complete that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rob's probably still on. I think we gave them till end of September, middle of September for substantial completion. So they'll need to start, but we still need to coordinate this with our fiber construction as well. Rob, was that correct? I'm sorry.
That is correct. And I do believe Bo is online to
This is all gonna happen
speak for this project as well.
Yes, that is correct, Ryan. September 30th is the date that we nailed down for substantial completion, with 2 weeks to button up punch list items there into mid-October.
and again, this is one of those things that's kind of a first step. You award this and then we will send the notice of award. And then the contractors are going to have to come back with their plan. And then we can get the notice of proceed or the agreement, the notice to proceed. But we have to take this first step to get all of those things rolling so we can nail down the start dates.
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution so we can move forward with getting this street repair done with a low bidder of LeGrand Johnson. I don't know the resolution number or the resolution number. I can't see it. Resolution 021-2021. I make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Any further questions for Scarlett, for Rob, or for Ryan?
I just wanted to ask about the budget shifting.
Go ahead.
You try to get the entire amount into this year's budget and then pay out what gets done and then shift the rest into the next budget? Or
No,
do you just adjust what you think is going to be done by July 1st?
correct. We will adjust because we know it won't all get done by July 1st.
Right.
We will work in when we come to May for the adjustment, we will at that point have a fairly good idea of what we think will get done.
Right.
So before any of the asphalt milling and replacement, the fiber is going to have to go down.
Some of it will be bored, and so like 100 East, we can bore, and they're only on one side of the street because so we're not crossing the street. We might for the school, but at that point, because all the houses on 100 East are on the east side of that street, we can get into 100 East. We could bore it, so they could get into that project before fiber went. Does that make sense? And some of it they can mill off before fiber comes, but we just have to have coordination.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Motion from Council Member Scott, second from Council Member Kirk. Further questions, discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Oh, there's Josh. I think he said aye.
Sorry, I keep hitting the mute, but I said aye.
Okay. All right. Unanimous passes. All right, let's go ahead and move on. All right. Item number 9, resolution 028-2021, election administration. Providence City Council will consider and take action on a resolution, the interlocal agreement on a resolution, there's a word missing there, approving the interlocal agreement between Cache County and Providence City for the administration of municipal elections I might mention that Providence is spelled wrong. Scarlett, on the, what we got from the city clerk's office.
Yeah, I noticed that. We'll get that
on that-
fixed. We'll
it's
make
on
sure
that-
that when all the election notices go out, they are spelled correctly.
Questions of Scarlett? We discussed this previous council meeting. Questions of Scarlett or Ryan?
It's all the same as what we've discussed before, right?
Yes,
Misspelling.
based on what they provided previous. If we were good, okay with their terms, that's what they put together for this. Their interlocal agreement. It's just formalizing what you looked at the last time.
Motion to approve resolution 028-2021, approving the election administration to Cache County. I have a motion from Council Member Seeley. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Second from Council Member Kirk. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you. City Code Amendment. Item number 10, ordinance 2021-004. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on an ordinance. Providence City Code Title 5, Chapter 1, Animal Control, Section 30, Responsibility. I think you probably all had a chance to read it. It just means if you got a dog and you take it out for a walk, you clean up after. We have a motion to approve resolution 014-2021. Looking at the wrong one. 2021-004.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020. Yeah, that's weird. 2021-004.
Okay. Motion from Council Member Paulson. Do I have a second? Second from Council Member Seeley. Question for Scarlett. Scarlett, what precipitated this? What?
We actually got an email, but can I actually ask a request? Josh made a motion to approve a resolution. I just want to clarify, this is an ordinance.
Thank you. That's correct. I will adjust that. Ordinance 2021-004.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of an important one in this one because this one is establishing a fee if they do not comply. It's establishing a fine of $50, I believe. And we can't do that by resolution. We have to do that by ordinance. So we received an email. I'm not sure if it was sent to Ryan or Councilmember Paulson, but it came across my email screen and asked me to put together some wording. They looked at Logan's, I believe is where it came from. That was the suggested wording. I took what Logan had. I took what we had that was existing, mushed the two together, and this is what you have. So it just kind of clarifies that you will clean up after your dog, and if not, you will receive a penalty. So that's what we're letting people know. They need to be responsible.
So, and we will in the city newsletter put a paragraph about this ordinance and change to our city code.
So this, I think, Josh, I think this originated with you, correct? So you
It did,
started-
yeah, and I appreciate you, Ryan. Ryan hopped on it pretty quickly and we got it fixed. It seemed like to your point, Mayor, if your dog poops, clean up after. It seems like a no-brainer. So the actual area where the complaint was, I went and visited it just to make sure it wasn't exaggerated. And the person wasn't kidding. I think there were 8 fresh dog poos and a big pile of horse manure that was a day old that people had just left there. So.
Question for you.
Well, to answer that one, this one came, we worked with it, and as we worked, it came as a council to staff and really from staff up, but it didn't have one, and we are saying that for these type, we would encourage that if it is resident driven, that it needs to come through that way. We are encouraging that they fill out a form so they can give us some information and it will help assist that. This was the one in front, and as we got others, then we've tried to say, oh, well, we need to make sure that we're getting them in the right avenue so that we can get these done. So it did not answer the question.
One other quick comment, Mayor. Josh's statement made me think about it. This just isn't directed at dogs. This is directed at animals, I believe. It talks about animals, it doesn't just call dogs out singly.
Anything else? Any other comments?
Question for you.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm curious about enforcement. Is it the responsibility of a property owner where a dog does his duty on their yard to report it, then to fill out a form or something that has happened against the individual? Sometimes we don't know the individuals. They're walking past, walking their dog, does its duty on your lawn, moves on down the street. The other issue is there's sections of town where there's trees like along 3rd East on the east side, from Center Street to First North, where dogs do their duty along the trees, people walk them. Tell me how this is to be enforced, please.
At some point, most of our ordinances on complaints like this are based on a complaint. Honestly, some of it will have to come as a notice, and they'll call probably animal control, because they have the ability to cite that way, not just pick up dogs, but they do have a ability to cite. And so honestly, there will be some need for residents. That's why we need to educate, because there will be some residents that if they'll have to be the one that brings it up at some point, because we won't be out inspecting that. So there will have to be some of that. You're correct. But we do intend to enforce if we pass an ordinance. We would encourage those that have that to be able to report, and we can send up our animal control and have them walk it and see. And if we get a few that are cited, I think the word will get around.
And to add to that, the sheriff's office has encouraged the city staff. The people need to call if it's non-emergency, they need to call the non-emergency report number at the sheriff's department and report it directly. The way the sheriff's department takes complaints and things like that, it kind of muddies the water if they call us and we in turn call the sheriff's department. So we really need to encourage besides that, it slows the response time down. We need to really encourage people to call that non-emergency number and make these reports so that they can get the quickest service from the sheriff's department and animal control as possible.
Anything else? All right. So we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? This is ordinance 2021-004. Hearing no further comment, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving ordinance 2021-004. This is the animal control section of our city code. Indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, let's go on, move forward. Master plans, item number 11. Resolution 014-2021 master plan. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution adopting the proposed Providence City, Utah transportation master plan. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve resolution 014-2021 transportation master plan. Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion from Council Member Seeley, second from Council Member Kirk. Further discussion, we've had this on the table for a while.
We did get a few comments from Janelle that we would incorporate in, if that's okay.
Yeah, if we incorporate the comments, but I want you guys to know what they are first.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. Do you want to hear my comments?
Sure.
I think a couple of the figures, I think they were supposed to be marked as red lines, but they look like redundant, the old and the new. But their marking on the transportation plan switched from like red to blue, so it wasn't clear what was redlined. But I think that was the intent, that those old figures be eliminated. And the new captions that they made go with the new figure and not the old figure. So there are some, well, there's several of those. And then I appreciated the addition of the bus routes. So there, I would like the recommendations to kind of be closer to the figures that were given. So for instance, figure 34 outlines all the bike routes that were proposed, and it has a table to the side of it that lists where those are all, and it specifies what kind of striping or bike lane is put in each of the different areas. But the images for those are like 15 pages back in the document. So I think if they came closer together, I mean, this is like a formatting thing. It's easier to read, then you're not like scrolling backwards to see what they meant by their recommendation later on in the plan.
Just one note on that one is the numbers will change because the life of the project is a 5 to 20 to 25 year. That's why you'll see those down below, but they sure could be. We will incorporate them and you'll see them in the budget document. So we'll take that, incorporate that in the budget, the numbers for the recommendations of bike lanes. We'll incorporate that. So anyway, it will be used more by staff than some by the reader. But anyway,
I don't think
but it
that
can
was
be.
the capital improvement plan for the bike.
There's two different recommendations, but you're right. There's a capital improvement for the bikes and then an overall capital improvement. At least I think there were two different lists of recommendations and amounts, right? We did include finalized plan as well as a red line plan set to confirm the changes. So, okay, there was one.
Some of those things may have been already.
Okay. All right.
And then for the capital improvement plan, I know not every terrible road is included on the capital improvement plan, but we just approved a huge project for a good chunk of the terrible road. And I feel like 400 east from center to 200 north is terrible. And I want it somewhere in the pipeline. I don't know where to specify, if it's in 5 years or if it's in 10 years, but it should be in the list because it is awful there.
I think adding it into the next 5-year list would be good. So I support that one.
Pipeline. I just want it somewhere on the pipeline that it's in the planning then. It's really awful there.
Where is it on our master plan?
On the master plan, like the capital
No,
improvement plan,
on the one that we had from 2018.
the LTAP?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've never seen that document.
It's on the website. There's a link to it, and there is a plan for every city street. So Rob could probably give you a better idea of where that's at, where he's at. Are you still on?
Dan, I'm looking it up on our most recent CIP plan now. However, it is on our plan and it's going to get bumped up the priority list a long ways when it comes right down to it with the amount of stuff that we're going to do this year. Fourth East also has major water problem issues underneath it. That's why we're trying not to overwhelm ourselves with this year's project, which we kind of maybe already did, but we're gonna do our best to make this a good experience and knock out this many roads along with what water that we can in this area. But Fourth East has some water problems that we'll have to address, and it will get bumped up our priority list as far as where it's currently at on the to-do list. And historically, it's been on our water capital improvement plan as opposed to the street. Just because a road of that width and shape generally gets repaired when we do the water project. So it will get boosted up just to make you feel any better.
That'll be included in the water master plan then?
It should be included in the water master plan when that one comes out. If the water is the driver underneath.
I've heard tell of this LTAP and I've never seen it.
I found it.
Send you the link.
It was
But I
slated to
thought that
be.
maybe some of those things would be incorporated in the transportation plan, but maybe some of them weren't, some of them are shipping water. I just didn't
And
know
some of them are maintenance. Most of LTAP.
or where.
Yeah, that's a good question. Most of LTAP is maintenance and wouldn't show up on it. Major ones, if it is a major, like we had the ones that are listed, those would be there. And if it's water, it'd fall under the water plan. The CRS asked for an estimate. We can work on that, Scott. But yeah, we'll have it when we do our water master plan. They'll identify major water line changes or needs.
So this is one of those things that overlaps, like the transportation and the parks, and this overlaps in transportation water.
Correct.
I just don't want it to get lost because it's really awful there.
And we'll work on them, whether they're on the plan or not. We'll still identify them. And as staff, we're still going to work to try to identify roads as they go. And if we notice there is one that needs to be picked up, we want good roads. We want to service the public well. So even if it doesn't show, which we can add, but if it doesn't show, doesn't mean we won't get to it.
How do you think the best place to add it is?
Well, I think based on Rob's, if there's a major water line underneath, I think we need to get to our water master plan, because we don't want to repair the road before we replace and repair the water line.
What'll be kind of extra interesting related to what we're doing this year is 400 East, in my opinion, and it's probably fairly true in the LTAP report once we review it closer. 400 East will probably become our worst structural impaired road in the town once we're done with this year's project. So it's going to be bumped up that priority list a long ways when it comes to the structural integrity of the asphalt and having such a bad water line underneath it. So it'll be up the list quite a ways.
Once water master plan comes through this next year, we'll identify all of those that need to be done and start to work on those as well. And we'll cap them with a good road when we're done with those water plants.
Those are my comments.
Ryan, on that 400 East, particularly when you get to 200 North, that there's some old pipes there that's been repaired, that's broken. There's some real major work that probably needs to be done unless Rob has done that recently. There's some issues there that really need to be done before we do that road.
Are you referring to the irrigation pipes?
No, I'm referring to the water line underneath it. I know there's been some, patches put on that and some things problematic in that area years ago. I think it's just needing upgrading and taking care of. And the water, that pipe under the road there needs to be taken care of too. That's my comments.
Good reason why our water master plan's our next one to go. So, well, with Max on here, maybe with your input, Max, but I would say that the figure on 29, the caption, I think if that hasn't been fixed, I think that's an easy conceptual one. We'll work on fixing that if it needs fixed. If it was only a red line version that was off, then we'll take care of that. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. On number 2 on yours, that was having the maps together, the cost and that together. I'm indifferent on that one, but however the council would like to go, whether you'd like to move that to closer to the recommendation or keep it in. I think there was all of the capital ones were there back together, right, Max?
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that comment, because when I look at the page numbers, mine are a little different than that one. So I'm a little confused by that one. And we did include, let me get here. I've got it open here. Is that the one on figure that says figure 34?
If you want it and push it, then that's fine. I think it's
I don't
fine
know
as
the
well either way.
exact page numbers. I was kind of jumping back and forth between things, but it seemed like they were spread out quite a bit. But I'll just trust your judgment on that. It's just
Okay.
that's something I noticed.
Okay. All right. Comment referenced page numbers from the red line version. I'm on the call, but do not see where to unmute myself. Let me see if that's. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. Scott, hold on just a second there. All right. So red line one, the third one, I think, Max, if you would add it and then just indicate it has a water line so it doesn't get lost. But at this point, maybe we won't estimate it. We just add it onto the list for now. Then we have it and we come back to it so that we have it under the water line. If we just note that it's a road and a water line on the CIP.
Okay, we've got that on there right now. So we just made that change today. So.
Okay, and so as amended, you could take your motion as amended if you want. Scott, did you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, just that we included it, but then also with the earlier comment to put the bike lanes closer to where the recommendations were. We had them up there, but then it was recommended that we move them down to be with the CIP. So they're just wanted to make sure clear where the council would like them. We wanted to put them all together in one spot. And the pictures up earlier were more for design and for layout implementation ideas, but then they wanted all the CIP projects outlined, put into one location at the end of the document in chapter 6, which is why they're just there.
The recommendations and capital improvement would be down in chapter 6. That's why it's there. So we keep them all together.
So I motion that we approve it.
With the recommended amendment.
With the recommended amendments.
Motion in a second. Further discussion? Josh?
Oh, I was going to second that and request that you also share whatever you're eating. That looks delicious.
I'll pack it up for you in a box if you want, but it'll
Okay.
be.
No. I don't want 3 days later. You guys deserve it. I don't deserve that.
Red velvet cake.
With cheesecake layers.
Okay. You got a motion, a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Resolution 014-2021 Transportation Master Plan. We'll move on to land development. We have.
Thank you,
4
Max
items.
and Scott.
Sorry?
All right, I just,
Talking to me.
no, I was just gonna thank Max and Scott for being on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to land development. Item 12, 13, 14, 15. Resolution, these are all resolutions, 023-2021. Development and public improvement installation agreement. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on resolution approving a development public improvement installation agreement for Providence Gateway subdivision Phase N, a single-family attached townhome development containing 6 residential buildings with a combined total of 38 dwelling units located in the general area of 60 North Gateway Drive. We've had this for discussion before the council before. It was previously known as North Gateway townhomes, and now it's called Phase N. This is the development just south of the church parking lot, and you probably remember the discussion we had about the units on Gateway Drive that would be live work units. Okay, so have a resolution. I need a motion on this.
I'm gonna make a motion that's a little different. On resolution 023-2021. I make a motion that we table this until we get Visionary Homes in to have an explanation of why they're not meeting our design standards on their other developments.
And I'll second.
We have a motion on the table from Council Member Beck, second from Council Member Kirk. And this is to table this resolution. So the staff.
We do have a hand raised by John Harrop. Anyway, if you want to take that.
And I understand that the development agreement has nothing to do with the actual building of homes, but it's the same owner, it's Visionary Homes. So until we can get some answers on, like I say, why they're not meeting our design standards, I think we should sit tight on this for a minute.
So it came to our attention just a day or two ago that the buildings that Visionary are currently building are getting progressively less and less rock work, and it almost feels like a gotcha, like we don't know exactly who's accountable or who should be checking, but the elevations aren't meeting our standards, and we believe that Visionary should know what those standards are, and whoever's checking them should also know, but somehow they're getting away with not meeting the standards, and we don't want to be caught in that.
So our life cycle zone has design standards and had design standards when we approved it. And I know that Visionary Homes started out with the appropriate amount of rock or brick on their buildings. Same with our multifamily. Our multifamily requires a certain amount of rock or brick. And they started out with that on their townhomes at Gateway, but their latest group of condos doesn't have that on there. So I think until we sit down with them and kind of sort this out, then I think we should sit tight.
I have a motion in a second. Further discussion. We have someone who wants to comment.
You want to accept that signature?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, John, I've allowed you to unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for letting me talk on this. This is a first that I've heard about it. And as you're aware, land development plans the communities and builds the communities per your specifications. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm hazy on options as they're promoted to possible homeowners. Sometimes we give them the option of stone, but if it's a required code, then that wouldn't be an option, that would be a standard. So I'll have to dig into that and see what the concerns are. Grateful that it was brought forward. It would have been helpful if it was brought forward before now, because this will push us back another month. And as you know, with material prices, piping specifically getting harder and harder and more expensive to acquire, a month is a considerable period of time. So I'll definitely address this and take it up to the executive council at Visionary and see what's going on. Could you just give me one more time the specifics? You were mentioning the townhomes, the condos, and single family not having stone that you're requiring?
It's in the life cycle zone. So that's the vineyard
So,
and in multifamily.
so we have a design standard section of our code. In the code that makes reference to multifamily and life cycle, it states that it makes reference to that part of the code related to design standards. So it applies to life cycle and applies to any multifamily development.
And that's requiring stone on
So it's in our code. I can find it here. Scarlett.
Stone or brick.
So it says 30% rock or stone there. John, how long have you been with Visionary?
since October.
So they're aware of it. When Visionary brought Life Cycle to Providence City, we had in-depth conversations about what the product would look like.
Okay.
I think what happened is you may have gotten a lot of new employees that may be making changes. I mean, you'll notice in the life cycle zone, and you can talk to this and take this back to the boss, they started out doing it right. And then pretty soon they've taken all of the rock or stone off, especially on those stucco houses. It looks really bad. And that's not what we planned for life cycle. You guys, and again, I'm not understanding why they built condos at Gateway without rock or stone on it. Part of it might be the city too. I mean, we just need to sit tight until we get it figured out.
Okay. And this, so that goes with all multifamily or 30% multifamily and the life cycle at Vineyard?
It's 30% rock or brick on multifamily and at the Vineyard life cycle, same.
Not 30% of the units, 30% of the structure.
Of the front of the structure.
Okay, all right.
So the elevations are getting missed.
Scarlett?
Okay.
Scarlett?
Yes.
You have an email that you sent out and makes reference to these sections of the code that Christina is referring to. Can you forward your email to John?
I can. And
Right.
I went over this with Jeff Jackson yesterday, and he was going to call his employees in on a meeting. So.
Okay.
The thing is that there is room for exceptions. However, an exception has never been brought to the Planning Commission or the City Council.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who makes the exceptions.
Okay, understood.
So there's 3 sentences. The second sentence makes reference to hardy board, which is a cement product, may be substituted for brick or stone. So to council member X point, she's saying maybe, that means it has to be approved. And Scarlett tells me the approving entity in our city government is the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Right, Scarlett?
Right. So John, that's why it's so important for you guys to get the appropriate architectural drawings and the elevations in color so that the Planning Commission can see exactly what they're approving. That's why it's important that you make sure you get us what you intend to build, because once they approve it, that's what you have to build, is what they approve. So
Okay.
you've got to get us what you're going to build.
And the problem is that it started out right, and the elevations have changed as the project has gone on, and that's why we feel like it's a gotcha, like it was a fast one.
I hear you. Yeah, that sounds low. But I was thinking about this earlier. I'm grateful to work for a visionary that does things right. But you're right. There's been a huge changeover of employees, a lot of change, even with the existing employees. So if this one slipped under the table, we'll fix it.
And I actually have built with Visionary, and I think that Jeff and Jack Justin will make it right. I think that it's probably hasn't been it hasn't been them. And so the communication has to happen, and this will get their attention and they'll make it right.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, all right, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Can I call for a vote? Okay, motion is to table the agenda item. And that's item number 12, resolution 023-2021. So I have a motion to table this for, so it'll appear on the next council agenda. In the interim, the city staff will get together with Visionary and get this worked out, report back to the council in the interim before the next council meeting. We good on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimous. Thank you for being on, John. Appreciate your comments.
You
All
bet.
right.
Thank you for your time.
All right, next item, number 13, resolution 024-2021, a development and public improvement installation agreement. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution approving development and public improvement installation agreement for Providence City Center subdivision, a 4-lot with a remainder parcel mixed use development containing 3 retail/commercial buildings, 7 residential buildings with a combined total of 54 multifamily dwelling units located in the general area of 95 South Gateway Drive. And this is on the west side of Gateway Drive. It's behind Macy's and Tractor Supply. Okay, do I have a motion on this resolution from the council?
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 13, resolution 024-2021.
Motion from Council Member Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Council Member Paulson. Okay. All right. We've had this before the council before. Any further questions on this development? Scarlett, anything you want to bring us up to date on? Scarlett, are you muted?
Sorry, this development is moving in phases. They're starting with the first phase. The preliminary plat was approved for all phases. And so the first phase, they have phase 1 and phase 1A. And phase 1 is the first set of, excuse me, townhomes, which they're building them like townhomes, but they are not individual lots. They are apartments. They will be rental units. They are not available to sell the way they have been platted. They've been platted as a multifamily dwelling, not a single family attached. So I just want to make sure that everybody, that part went through the planning commission and they were aware of that, but just so that the council's aware of that too. Phase 1A is their first commercial building that will come in as soon as they get this infrastructure and these buildings underway, then they'll start on phase 1A. This one's has a landscaping requirement in it because the mixed use does have a landscaping requirement. There really isn't anything that jumps out that's out of the ordinary, other than I just wanted you to be aware that it is phasing and you will see it go up in phases. Is there any questions? That if not, I'll put me back on mute and listen to your discussion.
Scarlett, who is the developer on this?
David Knight, Danny McFarland is Civil Solutions, and David Knight are working together on this, but David Knight's the actual developer.
So is this across the street to the north from McFarland's new office?
This is right next door, right behind Macy's, right next door to Morris Pool's orthopedics
Okay.
building. So that, and yes, it will go, when it's finished, it will take that whole top of that T. Remember, Brent, how there was that T left out of the AmSource property?
Yeah.
This will take that top of that T that was zoned mixed use. That's what it will do. So as it builds out, it will go all the way from the dentist property to the 100 South intersection.
Will that
with-
in everything from Macy's to Gateway Drive?
Not, it doesn't, it's just the top of the T. It doesn't go down into the actual Alder Square. It's just the top of the T.
Okay, all right.
So it will just be along Gateway Drive.
Okay.
It has the roads, they've developed it so that when you enter, once they start developing in phase 1A, they've developed it so that you will be able to turn off of Gateway Drive and go in through their development, visit their retail places, and then continue into Alder Square. But at this point in time, that connection hasn't been made yet. And they're not going to make, Alder Square will be responsible to make the actual connection on their side of the thing. This one will just get it into right up against the Alder Square shopping center, but not actually into Alder Square.
And just out of curiosity, has the Alder Square development been coordinated with the access roads coming in through this property, that it's going to work for them too?
Yes, they've been working with them, with
Okay.
AmSource.
All right, thank you.
Any questions?
I had a couple questions.
Go ahead, Janelle.
So as I look at Exhibit A of this, is that to the very farthest north edge of that property? Is that where it's starting? I don't really see a property.
Yes, they're starting on the north side of the property with the
It's not in the
townhouses.
middle somewhere.
No, they're starting on the north side of the property.
And that road that's back in against the back of Macy's, were they gonna connect that out to 100 North by the roundabout, or did that get changed?
I think it's plat, I can ask, David Knight said looks like he'd like to answer that.
Go ahead.
There you go. Go ahead, David. You have to unmute. David, you'll have to unmute yourself. I give you allow to, but. Danny McFarland. All right, Danny, you try it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So, yeah, so could you repeat the question again on that access road? Are you talking about the driveway that goes north to 100 North?
The driveway that's on the very far west edge of the development, do you have a plan to connect that behind the orthodontist office to 100 North by the roundabout?
Yes. Yep, that's part of the plan.
And then what do you expect the going rent to be for these units? And why did you opt for rental units instead of selling the townhomes as individual properties?
I don't know exactly what the rents will be, but probably somewhere in the $1,400, $1,450 a month range. And that's just the direction that the investment group wanted to go was rentals.
How many total townhome rental units do you plan to have there?
53.
Will they all be the same size, the variety?
They will all be the same size.
you expect the exterior to look like? Similar to the ones over where the mini golf course was, or different than that?
They'll be similar materials, similar look, not exactly like those.
So Danny, are these going to be vertical apartments? And so you probably won't put sprinklers in them. You're going to build them with firewalls like a townhome?
They will be townhomes, 3 levels.
3-level rentals?
Correct.
So you're putting sprinklers in them?
No. They'll have a firewall, so it'll be a townhome type building with a firewall.
Okay, but there's 3 levels per apartment. Is that correct?
Yeah, the first level is the garage, and there is 1 bedroom on the main level.
Okay.
And then the second level has the kitchen,
sure,
family room area. Then the upper level has 2 bedrooms and a bath.
Okay, so it'll be a townhome style vertical apartment, but you won't need to put sprinklers in them. Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
How many square feet is each apartment?
They're roughly, I think they're 1250, I think, square feet. I mean, we've kind of gone the rounds with the city and the mixed use code. And I mean, the square footage of the units is what dictates how much office and retail space is required. And so the 3 different buildings require a certain amount of retail and office, and that's all based off of, I think it's right around 1250 square feet.
Any other questions? I have a question for the city staff. So on both sides of Gateway, we're creating multifamily development on both the east and west side of Gateway Drive, bracketed by a roundabout on 100 North and a roundabout on 100 South. We've got a lot of kids that are going to go east to either the elementary or the middle school. A roundabout is not a good place for anybody to cross, kids or adults. In the past, we have talked about establishing a dedicated crosswalk with pedestrian lights about the location of what would be otherwise be Center Street had it gone through, because we've got people on both sides that are going to send kids to school. We've got people on both sides that are going to want to go shopping in Alder Square to Macy's and the other stores there. So there's going to be a lot of pedestrian traffic, and we really don't want people running across that street. So to the city staff, do we have plans to establish that crosswalk? It needs to be a real safe crosswalk. And if you're familiar with the one on 500 North in Logan, it's got pedestrian activated lights that flash when someone crosses. So it tells the vehicle drivers, pedestrians are in the crosswalk. That's what we need, because we've got a lot of young families and a lot of new development. And I expect a lot of pedestrian traffic in that area.
Can I say something to that? Okay,
Sure. And Janelle wants to add to that.
So I've suggested this several times. I put it on a safety issue on the transportation plan to add flashing lights to the roundabout or somewhere. And I've tried to reach out to the schools to put it on their safe routes to school so we can apply it into some grant money. I think you can see it when you drive like Second East in Logan and you're going through that roundabout. You cannot see the other side of the roundabout, the pedestrian traffic, with the island in the middle and the landscaping to see if somebody is in the crosswalk. And so I think it's really important that we add flashing lights because of the pedestrian issues that you brought up. But I think
now we're going to see a lot.
How do we push I know the trail suggested there through Zollinger. And I do know kids dart across up to Center Street when they cut through the park walking to and from school. But where's the best way to address this? To push the schools to put it in their plans so we can get grant funds for it? Or
we shouldn't have to have the schools put in their plan for us to put it there.
No, we shouldn't, but we can get grant money from the state if they put it in there.
I think Ryan probably has a better idea. How do we get the developers to pay for it?
I think getting the developers to pay for it would be good. I think having it in the school is always a good idea, because then it does have a basis. It helps us justify our basis, and there is definition to it.
Is this in the master transportation?
And second, the second thing is with the CMAC, we are bringing the trail across, and it will connect through there, and we're leading that trail right to it. And so there is probably room within that application to work on that one. But if we want the developers to put it in, generally they not sure, and Rob can come in on that one, but I'm not sure if developers will normally pay for the crossing of a major road that they're not actually constructing. But I think CMAC is our avenue where if we can get that one, I think that will put us through. But Rob, do you have any comments on that mid-block crossing there between those two multifamily housing?
You're right. When it comes to the developers, it'd be hard to create the cost to be inputted on a development in this nature. However, there is other revenue streams and avenues and grants and whatnot that I'm sure that we could approach to accomplish something. I would like to see something go aerial across Gateway Drive, because I'm not a huge fan of mid-block crosswalks. They have their own cons, and there's some pretty serious cons related to mid-block crosswalks. They can be designed to be safe, but they also have, as you probably remember, there used to be a few on Logan's Main Street, and they went away for very good reasons once you start getting those safety concerns with the amount of volume that you're trying to push through those areas. And so I would entertain trying to first explore, a grant that would maybe do something aerial across that for long-term prep, or like you said, the safe routes to school might be a better option where we don't have the massive amount of volume on that particular road yet, that a flashing crosswalk could work without the concerns that I have with the mid-block crosswalk that I typically do have. So that's my 2 cents preliminary off the cuff with that.
So in the temporary, to summarize that, in the temporary, I think we could put lights and put them into the funding we have for the CMAC, because that's part of our trail. Oh, the roundabout, mid-block.
Ryan,
We are gonna have people
sorry.
running across the street.
Brent's got a question.
I would make a suggestion that if we're going to put that in, that you put a safe island in the middle with posts as well. The reason being is it's too far across there for one stretch to cross over. People can't even see red lights flashing on a school bus with sidearms out and a air horn blaring. They don't even pay attention. They sail right through it. We have got to be able to make some kind of safe crossing for those kids that is with a safe island out in there, if you're going to have people walking across, because it's too far across without having a safe island, just as we do at the roundabouts.
We still need the flashing lights at the roundabout, because pedestrian traffic is going to go up Gateway Drive to like Cobblestone and the apartment complex up that way. The kids walk up Gateway Drive that direction. They're still going to have to cross the roundabout. They're trying to go, aside from all their, mobs of middle schoolers that go to Macy's after school.
Problem with roundabouts is they're not designed for pedestrian safety. They're designed for traffic flow.
I understand that pedestrians still have to cross.
I understand.
So how do we mitigate it?
That one on 5th North and 2nd East works pretty well with those flashing lights. You see those pedestrians, and there's people that watch that pretty careful. If we had them in on our roundabout there, particularly on 100 North, I think it would definitely lend to controlling traffic to watch for pedestrians. I think that's something that would be worth a retrofit myself.
It's just so close to middle school, and middle schoolers don't have a prefrontal cortex.
I can't hear you.
Stand up.
It's just so close to the middle school and middle schoolers don't have a brain. Fully developed yet. Fully developed yet.
So not only do we have a lot of new families moving in, we're also putting retail and commercial on the west side of Gateway. And we're expecting retail customers to come in there. There's also going to be parking there. We're going to have people crossing the street going both ways. So we're going to have pedestrian traffic, customers patronizing those commercial buildings that are being built as well.
Mayor, could I make a comment?
Who's that?
This is Danny McFarland.
Hey, Danny.
So my office looks right on the roundabout here, right from the second floor. I watch kids and pedestrians all day, and I actually, thanks to the post office forcing me to put my mailbox east a block, I walk through that roundabout every day to get my mail. I think the pedestrian access on the roundabout works perfectly. I see kids come to and from school every day, and every time I walk through, it's safe. People are on the lookout for pedestrians, and I don't disagree that I think a mid-block crossing is good, but I somewhat disagree that the roundabouts are unsafe for pedestrians.
Danny, that roundabout by your office doesn't have landscaping in the middle of it, does it?
No, and I think that was a good change. You know, it's a lower island in the middle, so you know there is visibility for drivers.
You know, the roundabout in Logan that is on, I think, Second East, the one that has all the big landscaping in it, it is so beautiful. They've got big crosswalks and I believe a flashing light. So we could implement something like that as a city.
So I don't think anybody's disagreeing here. We need all three. We need both roundabouts and we need a mid-street crossing, because we've got 2 blocks from roundabout to roundabout.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can we maybe put this as a discussion point on another agenda? And
Absolutely.
sounds like.
I think it's.
Or at that point, just turn it to staff, because really traffic is at that point, if you just turn that to staff, we can work on it. We do need it in order to have an overhead. The overhead is really generally funded through Safe Routes to School grants. They're about $250,000 to $500,000 to build an overhead, as I've seen.
An overhead what?
Walking path, like Rob suggested, over the.
Kids that don't have a frontal cortex, are they gonna take the bridge or are they gonna run it?
There's lots of kids that take bridges across. So, but in the meantime, we can look at that and take it on the staff side. We have the grant. Well, we don't have it. We have applied for and are working to apply for more of this grant. It will help us towards this end, and it is part of what we're trying to get to.
Takes up a big footprint too on each side.
So then can
Yes.
we vote on the development?
Yeah, so we
agreement?
hijacked David and Danny's agenda item to talk about crosswalks and flashing lights. So why don't we give them
Unless they're willing to pay for it. If they're willing to pay for it, then it's a whole different question.
then I guarantee you it'll be a unanimous vote.
Correct.
All right, can I call for a vote? We don't, we went beyond the development agreement discussion, but we need to, I think the council wants to see this on the next agenda for May. Is that a yes? Okay.
I think we turn it to staff.
Okay, we'll turn it to staff in the interim. Staff can chew on it and put it on the next. All right, item number 13, resolution 024/2021. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Danny, and thank you, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being patient with us. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Item number 14, resolution 025/2021, development of public improvement installation agreement. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution approving a development public improvement installation agreement for Sagecrest subdivision, a 15 lot residential subdivision located in the general area of 150 North Sherwood Drive, just down the street from Julie Hollow, who wasn't happy with the annexation that we were considering as well. So this is just to the north of where the corner house she lives in. Okay, so Scarlett, you want to give us an update on this?
So the planning commission has approved this final plat. The city engineer and Public Works, Rob and Max, they're working on the construction drawings. Rob might have an update where we're at with those, but I think they're really close to being ready to sign. And then we can finish that date. But they've provided everything else. Now, one thing that I want to bring up, I sent an email out. Stan Checketts is involved in this development, and Stan has some water rights. Now, these are not water shares. These are water rights. He went through the process 10 or 12 years ago to get these water rights. The point of diversion is within Providence City. They have been reclassified by the state engineer as municipal use. They're in Stan's name, but the city was part of that application process. So what he will do is prepare a deed of conveyance for 18.27 acre feet of municipal water right, rather than paying the fee in lieu. As the draft that came out with the packet had it as a fee in lieu, and they notified me that they want to dedicate acre feet water rights. So that's the only change that I would ask, that when you get ready to vote, that you make sure that you include that they will be dedicating 18.27 water rights for 18.27 acre feet. Unless Danny has something else or that they want to add.
So anybody makes a motion, we can make a motion to accept water shares in lieu of payment.
Water rights.
Water rights, water shares.
What does that mean? Is that like an ability to drill a well? Is that?
Yeah, we would take the water through a well.
It's water for a well.
Water through
that much more.
Through one of our existing wells?
Well, we're probably planning to drill a new well at some point. That's part of the design. Depending on where we drill it, depends on how much water we can take, and we'd have to proof the water right. It's going to come through a well at some future time.
So can I make a motion?
You can make a motion, you can
Because we
approve
haven't
it
made a
with a fee
motion.
in lieu, or you can.
I make a
approve it
motion that
amended.
we approve resolution 025-2021 with dedicated water rights, or rather than a fee in lieu for the Sagecrest subdivision.
18.27. What is it? Acre feet?
Yeah, I think that's sufficient with the motion.
All right. We have an amended motion from Councilmember Heck. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Kirk. Further discussion, questions? Are we clear on the water right? So, question for our city manager: do we prefer money, or do we prefer water rights? We can't sell water rights.
Once we own water rights, we can never sell it. If I had a preference, obviously a preference that we would have is we would have something that we could use quicker. Spring Creek and Broad Hollow is a quicker use, but is limited in its capacity. Drilling a well, we have to do one for all the water rights we have. So we're going to do that at some point. We just don't know when. But if we always take fee in lieu, we'll never get the water rights. So that's of a limited supply.
Oh, you already have water rights.
We have some water
I don't know
rights.
how much that allows us to take, and I don't know. This is a Rob.
We wouldn't have enough
calculation.
for our 40 years, as I've talked with Max and Rob, not necessarily Rob, but with Max just the other day. we're saying we would still entertain water rights if that's what they have. We have taken a lot of fee and lieu, and a good balance is healthy.
So way less than 40 years, the city will probably be built out. The question is, are we going to have enough to accommodate
the build
a
out,
complete build out in the city? So I guess part of the answer to that question is, how much is multifamily or no?
They say that once you build out, you build up. And so in 40 years, we'll build up after we've built out.
Skyscraper.
I didn't say skyscrapers. I just said that's what they say is once you build out, you build up. So 40 years, we still will need more water.
I would recommend that you take the water rights that you have offered to you. There's a limited amount of water rights. Money is printable and the government will print more, so don't worry about money. I think you ought to take water rights.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Brent, you're funny tonight. You're cracking me up. Driving bus is good for you.
So item number 14, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? I don't hear any. Resolution 025, 2021 amended, accept water rights, 18.5 27 acre feet of water. All in favor of approving the resolution, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. So we agree with Stan and we'll get more water. Item number 15, resolution 027, 2021 development of public improvement installation agreement. Providence City Council will consider and may take action on a resolution approving a development and public improvement installation agreement for Ficus commercial subdivision, a 4-lot subdivision with 3 commercial lots and 1 remainder residential parcel located in the general area 750 west, 300 south. It's probably also known as 1700 south on the west side of the highway. This has a twist to it. Scarlett, Ryan, you want to?
I will talk to the twist and Scarlett can talk to another twist. I think there's 2 different twists to this one. So I will start off with, we don't currently have a sewer line that extends onto the west side. So as we have talked with the developer and his representative, which is on the line with us, we have seen and said, hey, there is ways to get sewer there, but it's looking as if it will need a pressurized force main sewer to come back. So the requirements of the developer would be to put in a gravity fed sewer line from Highway 165 to the west and for the entire stretch of their development. And then there would be a force main line put in from the west side of their development going to the towards the east. And at that point, the question has come if the city would participate in going and paying the cost of going underneath Highway 165. That would connect their development with our sewer line. And from the recommendation, I would give my recommendation that we take that cost. I would also, at this point, because we'll have to make bores across the road with our fiber connections, if possible, that we look to see if we can engage that same boring and do it. Now, a few pieces that twist this is one, we don't totally know the size yet of what's required, whether it's going to be 4, 6, or 8 inch. Because our sewer master plan hasn't been completed, and so we're still waiting for some technical information off of that. So the approval would be a little honestly a little fuzzy on giving you a specific cost. We haven't bid it out. We're giving you an approximate, but the idea is would you approve the city paying for the connection under Highway 165?
So are we approving a development agreement?
This is development
Or is this
agreement. This is
something
nope. This is a development agreement. This is part of that development agreement.
We have parts of it that are incomplete. Copy we have. Scarlett's got highlighted. And so
That's the other twist I'm going to pass to Scarlett.
lacking information.
That's the other twist I was going to pass to Scarlett. So I was going to talk about this twist of the sewer line in 165. And then I was going to pass to Scarlett on that. Well, and one last thing to finish my twist, and then it will be Scarlett's turn for her twist. The twist is that UDOT is coming in and going to do work on that road, a maintenance course. I think it's a mill and fill or something else. And they have asked, when we talked to them, they have asked if we are going to bore it, they would like us to do it prior to the completion of their project, because then they'll put a moratorium on the road. Now, that moratorium may not apply to boring, but they did indicate a definite interest that we could finish that before. So that's the sewer side of it. Now that's just a piece. Let me see. Okay, and I see Brent has his hand, but if we can end with Scarlett and her twist and then let you take and discuss. Scarlett, do you want to add to the twist of some of the missing pieces, some of the other missing pieces?
So what really pushed this forward, and this was not necessarily the developer's request that this come forward. The developer, when someone develops on one of the state roads, they have to go through a coordinated meeting that involves the UDOT people, it involves the MPO, it involves the city. And it was during that meeting, and I want to say that meeting was just last week. When Ryan, and so it was last week when we found out that UDOT had the project that they've actually awarded that project. So that project is coming. The company that got that award has talked to Rob about using a part of city property for some staging while they're doing that project. So we know it's coming, and we know it's coming soon. Ryan and I talked back and forth because this definitely is an incomplete development agreement, and no fault to the developer at this point in time that it's incomplete. He just hasn't had the chance to be able to get us the information. It actually came in yesterday morning, but the amount of information that we have to go through to get ready for this, we couldn't do an adequate review to do that. And so that's why it says that the developer had yet to provide the information, because he had yet to provide it at that point in time. The UDOT timetable is really what speeded us up. So my suggestion is that you break this up like you have done in times past. If you are willing to entertain city participation by city doing the sewer crossing under State Road 165 that Ryan has described, then I would suggest that you amend this resolution that you are not approving the development agreement in its entirety. However, you are approving the portions that pertain to city participation in the sewer connection under 165 or something to that effect. If you're not interested in participating in that, we need to know soon too, because then the developer's going to have to sit down and figure out how they want to do with their timetable and their financing if they have to incorporate that in. Now, one of the things that we can do, in a way, it's kind of nice that, I mean, it's too bad that the timing got scrunched so quickly, but now if you do approve that, this is certainly the type of a system improvement that would qualify for impact fee. Because it is definitely for new growth, getting that sewer under the highway. So then as Scott Archibald and crew finish up on our sewer master plan, which I spoke with him this morning for a minute about that. And they are working on the final, or toward the final draft and putting together estimates and things like that for some of our projects. So if you give him the go ahead, then, or if you give us the go ahead on this sewer project, then that can be incorporated in part of the impact facility fee portion of the plan and can in turn go into an impact fee analysis. And then as growth comes, you can get your, for right now, we'll just say 75 to 100,000. It may be less, it may be more, we don't know. But you can get that reimbursed as growth comes down in that area. And they will look at the impact fees and the size and everything, and they will get that analysis taken care of for you. So we can incorporate it in that, even though we're doing it beforehand, we know what we're doing, it can be incorporated into the impact fees. So that's kind of your option. Either just approve the portion that applies to the sewer, or you would need to table the whole thing because the agreement in its entirety is not ready for you. And through no fault of the developer or the staff, we didn't know about the UDOT timetable, and we just had to get something in front of you as quickly as we could so that you could make this decision for us.
Great, thank you.
Grant?
A couple questions that I picked up on and maybe I misunderstood. They talked about a moratorium. Tell me what that moratorium is.
No, it would be that we couldn't cut into the road, whether they could actually make a moratorium that we couldn't bore under the road, but you wouldn't be able to cut into the road for at least 2 years.
Okay, I understand a cut. I don't understand the boring. I can understand UDOT putting a 2-year moratorium on cutting. Now, we just approved an 88 acre annexation. Somewhere along that line, we're going to have a couple of bores. We're going to have to bring sewer in from those properties and take them back to that line, unless you've got an alternate route planned. I don't know, but if it comes back to the line along Highway 65, you're going to have to deal with that in a couple of places possibly. Is this a waste of our money at this point in time where we're not doing it sized or location to deal with the 88 part of the 88 acres that we just annexed? The other question is, what about water? As far as I know now, and maybe I don't know, is there a water line board under that road that goes down to Jerry Fickus? Is that an 8-inch?
There is a water line, if I'm not mistaken. There is. So to answer the second question first, water lines there. The second one is we would put in a sized enough for the lift station that eventually will be built. And most of that sewer will be serviced through a lift station. So that's why we don't know the exact size, because we're looking at all of that area to know what size. In the short term, what we would do is we would put a sleeve inside of it. So we would say, let's say it's a 6-inch, we put in a 6-inch board under the road, and then we would sleeve a 2-inch in it until sufficient development could handle pushing it through a larger line. But one connection isn't going to be able to be pushed through a 6-inch line. There just won't be enough capacity or flow to push. So we'll probably have to put a sleeve in, but that's what we're looking at with the master plan. It is a little bit accelerated in time frame because UDOT has asked us not that they would do a moratorium on boring, but because boring can sometimes affect the surface, they would want it taken care of so that they could fix any effect in the project. And it was just at their request that they said, if you are going to bore and you know it, we would like you to do it before our project completes.
Okay. All right. So the size of line that you would bore under would be adequate to handle a percentage of the 88 acres. I'm not saying it's going to take all of it because of the topography of the ground and so forth, but you're looking at least accommodating a share of that 88 acres along with Ficus's property.
Yes, it would be enough for capacity of both the whatever would flow gravity wise to the lift station. So some of it's north, and so there might be more of the acreage to the north that's already in Providence, some to the south, depending on how far we go to the south.
And
That is part of the design.
How far west are you going to locate this lift station? Is it going to be down at the lower end of the Alders annexation, or are you putting it at the Ficus property? We have to build another lift station, or is that their responsibility to do?
No, so what we'll do is we would have, eventually we'll only have one lift station at the end of Alders property or the end of where Providence City goes. In the short term, they will have individual pump lift station, not a full lift station, but individual pumps that they would then push into the smaller force main. But once it's built and the lift station's built, then there would be only one lift station, and they would have to connect to the gravity fed line and do that. But in the short term, because we won't have enough flow, we're going to have to do something in the short term for the first few.
So each home is going to have a grinder pump and its own wet well that's going to pump into that sewer line and force it all the way to the highway or up through across the highway?
Each unit will have to have something like that, correct? It won't be homes, at least not because it's commercially zoned. But yeah, each one will have a small unit like that. Yes, that's correct. We figure they're about 10,000 a unit, but yes, that is correct.
We have I hope they work better than they used to. Grinder pumps are on the smaller basis are really a problematic solution to these things. But what about the developer himself putting a small wet well in and put one grinder pump in that collects the sewage from the 3 commercial properties and pumps that amount of sewage at one time back across the highway? That seems to me that'd be a better solution than each one of them trying to pump down the same line to the highway.
Could definitely be an option. They would still pump down the same line of the highway. So we won't have a bore for every single one of them. But yes, it could definitely be an option. That would be weighted out when we get to development of who's going to go in there. But at this point, we don't know the individual unit and their usage. But they would have to come together to make that proposal. But what we would require is that they would connect in, force it, and that would be their responsibility of forcing it across the highway. Our responsibility is only putting in the pipe to the right size. That's our goal.
I'm in favor of us taking on that project because of anything that the individual developer would do would be too small to accommodate anything we'd do in the future. Let's just make sure that what we put under that highway in the bore is adequate to service the area that we're planning on it servicing. And that's going to take a little engineering and a little bit of study to do. And I'm in favor of supporting that bore if that can service more of that area.
Brent, they are studying that as part of the sewer master plan. That this southwest area has always been a pretty high priority within that master plan that they're working on. They're working on all phases of the sewer, but they are focusing on the southwest. They know that they've got to look at that, and before Ryan and I presented this plan a little while ago to the developer, we sat down with Sunrise Engineering and spoke with them about options. What were the best options? And this is what they had come up with. Had we had time to let the developer get their plans into us and time to bring this forward as part of the master plan process and have that a little further along, it would have cleared up a lot of your questions, but UDOT's timeframe just kind of accelerated everything. And we just felt like you needed to see an opportunity, or you needed to have the opportunity to decide if you wanted to move forward on kind of a leap of faith, or if you want to hold off and wait.
Oh, I don't want to move forward on a leap of faith. I want an engineer to take a look at what we're doing and say, yes, this is sized to adequately provide an opening where we can put a pipe underneath that highway that'll handle a pressurized pipe from a lift station. They should be able to do that and adequately give us a pipe size, even if the pipe is greater than what eventually is going to wind up to be. I just don't want to have to come back a time later and say, well, we put in a 6, now we got to have an 8. That's just not good engineering. They've got to do that. If you're going to have Sunrise do it or whoever, we need to have it done right.
So the answer is we will not have the information on the pipe size.
What's
So
that?
The question is right now that Ryan and Scarlett are saying is only one question. Do we bore a hole or determine the pipe size somewhere down the road? We have an engineering firm working on coming up with that. It could start out as a 4-inch pipe. It could go to a 6-inch pipe, but the pipe's got to be small enough. Otherwise you can't pressurize it. So it's got to start out small. And so Ryan suggested there be a bigger pipe. It's a sleeve that the smaller pipe goes in. So the bigger pipe accommodates it. But the real issue today, the only issue right now is, do we bore a hole? We don't have the information on the pipe. We got somebody working on it. They're studying it because they've got to model a whole city. They've got to model everything on that side of the highway. But I think the question right now is, do we move forward and bore it so that we can get underneath this time imposition we've been imposed on us by UDOT? So we can say that we want to bore a hole and we're good with that and figure out the pipeline later. And that's
I want to bore a hole. I want to bore a hole that's going to receive, that'll be a sleeve that'll be large enough to accommodate the pipe you're going to put in eventually. Whether you put a 2-inch in first, a 4-inch, a 6-inch, it doesn't matter. I just want the bore, the pipe, the sleeve to be large enough to accommodate what we're doing if we're going to put up the money.
Right, and we're having the engineering done for that. We just, at this point in time, today, we don't have that. Next council meeting, we probably will, but today we don't have the size. But the question is are you willing to participate in cost or no?
I am, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a
You
motion?
do it right.
Are we approving part of a development agreement, or is this just a standalone or a whole decision?
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Well, let Ryan explain.
No, go ahead.
I think I know.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll make a motion that we table the development agreement, item number 15, resolution 027-2021, and approve the boring of the hole under Highway 165.
Makes sense to me. Do I have a second?
Drill, baby, drill. I'll second it.
Janelle has a question.
They're really fast questions. So like yes and no questions. Okay. Is this where we're already planning to bore for fiber? Is that part of the network, fiber network design? Is that where we're planning to bring it through before?
Not at this exact location, no.
So.
But we are planning on bringing it across.
The route design in the fiber.
No, it won't affect fiber.
Are you asking, can we put the conduit forward?
I'm just wondering if the location of that bore affects the location for the fiber.
No.
The rollout of it.
No, it does not
Maybe to
affect.
Come up a different.
The only reason I bring up fiber is only because they have a boring crew and they could do a 6-inch bore because that's what they have in.
Total separate.
But they're.
It's just because
two
they,
birds with one stone.
yeah, correct.
Okay, my next question is, we pressurize this and we have a lift station, is it unidirectional? Like, if we, in the future, decided that we were going to send our sewer somewhere other than Logan,
Unit means two directions.
means one.
One,
I was
you know,
thinking-
we one directional.
I just, if we're gonna put in a lift station,
So I'll answer the question.
you understand my question?
Yes, I believe I understand your question. And here's the question, because it is a force, we can push it either direction. Because,
Okay, I just
because
don't
we're,
know how the lift stations are designed. I don't know the way they're designed. You can only direct it.
well, the lift station is gonna be at the bottom end. We'll have to push from it wherever we go.
Lowest.
But the pipe underneath the road, it is not gravity. And so it is being pushed by pressure, so the pressure could go either way. But at some point we'll push, and if we go to Hiram, or if we go to Logan, or if we go to Hiram through Millville, we'll have other things we have to figure out. This won't affect, no. Because there will be different pieces and different things we have to put in if that decision happens. But this is to drain the sewer of the west side. We'll have to push it up to the highway 165, no matter what we do. That has to come back to 165, even if we push to the south. Still has to be there.
Okay, stopped in the middle and said, I have a question. So we have a motion for council member Pierce.
This wasn't ready to
Second.
go. I just wanted to say that.
Second from council member Sealy. Further discussion, Brett, anything else?
Well, now I've said my piece. Guys, I can't make you understand what I'm concerned about, but, and so.
Brent,
I understand. I think.
Brent, Ryan and I had the same conversation a couple of weeks ago about the pipe size and the boring issue.
So before we actually make the whole size, we'll have the engineering done.
The only thing I think ought to be amended on the motion is the fact that it will be bored to a size that will be adequate to accommodate the future development that we just annexed, a portion of it. I don't know the portion, but that's the only thing I would recommend be amended the motion. Then I'm in favor of it, but
Just point of clarification, we didn't annex that property. It was just to consider the annexation, correct?
Josh, it'll be annexed. You know it will. We got 88 acres down there. You know it's going to be annexed.
You
Along
can think whatever you want. That's just not what we approved.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so what I said was that it would be an adequate diameter to surface possible annexation.
Perfect.
Second the amendment.
We have an amended motion
Future
to approve
annexation.
boring a hole to a diameter adequate to accommodate a pipe to serve the annex property on the, there are two
Potential annexation.
potential annexation on the west side of the highway.
Portion of it, because it may not all flow that way.
Because we have everything north too, going up to the car wash. We gotta serve. And Brendan made an earlier point, we may have multiple points under the highway where we've got to run the sewer line, maybe further north too. Anyway, so this just gets, we get under the radar, under UDOT's radar, so we can get this done and we can proceed and the property owner, developer can proceed with the development. And we're not that far away from the sewer master plan from being concluded. We're a month or two away, right? Right. Okay. Right. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we're gonna bore a hole, unanimous. Thank you.
All right. Get back to this. I think we're close, aren't we? Are we close?
No, we're close. We're at council reports.
All right, we're at council reports. It's just after 9:30. We'll go around the room. I don't think we have anything for executive session that I'm aware of.
We do?
Council?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
We do have something for executive session.
We do.
Okay, all right. Well, let's do council reports. Harry?
Just briefly, Janelle and I met with Matt and his neighbors about the pickleball court. And I promised him that I would bring up that and ask for the staff to take a look at options for switching the tennis courts at Zollinger for the pickleball court.
They're different sizes. A tennis court is 1.5 times the width and length of a pickleball. They can't be switched. They're not the same size.
They can't measurement, well, from what we kind of did our rough research.
Okay.
That you could put one tennis court at Elmo and Hart, but not two.
Not with where the fences are. So you'd have to take
You'd have
out
to
the
take the
fences and
fence
out the concrete.
You have to remove all of the concrete.
Well, because you've got concrete that holds up the fences that go in between them.
We're just asking.
I would say having surfaced a pickleball court, I would say no, but I'm not an expert. I have a pickleball in my backyard and I'm going to say no. I would discourage the idea, but absolutely, if that's what the council wants, we could sure take a look. But pickleball courts, now you can paint a pickleball lines on a tennis court, but you are fitting. Tennis doesn't fit on a pickleball because it's not the size. If I wanted to have a tennis court in my backyard, it would have been 1.5 times the length to do it because tennis is longer than pickleball, and you have a different sizes.
I understand they're not the same size, but if we could just look at that, let's not talk about it right now, but
Okay.
let's look at it and I'll do some more research too.
And I just have a comment. I would really like to get the sound wall in.
Sound wall's in.
Oh, it's in, and
It's already in.
but we met with them after the sound wall,
They still don't
and they're
want,
not happy.
they just want the pickleball courts gone. It's not about the sound.
If they don't like what we've done, they won't like anything that we do. Because nothing else will satisfy.
We had residents that lived there that were clamoring for pickleball courts. And we got RAPS money to build the courts we have with a promise that we get more RAPS money to build more courts. So that goes back to 2017, 2017. We built pickleball courts and people were thrilled. Now we have new residents move in and it's a big mistake to put in pickleball courts. That doesn't make sense.
Also, we have had a letter from the homeowners association that have said once those are in, that they would be satisfied and done with the debate.
What is it?
Once the sound walls were installed and done.
You guys forward us that letter? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I saw Ryan, I don't feel like we need to discuss it too much, but I'd be agree with Janelle and Carrie. There's 3 of us. It's at least worth measuring to see if that's an option. I think that's all they're asking is, would one fit there? And I think in the amount of time that we discuss here, someone could walk over and measure and determine the feasibility of it. I think that's all that's being asked.
Forward the research that Matt's done, because he's of course been looking at it.
Are we just moving the noise? Are we just moving the noise from one resident to another one? The Lindleys to the south of them?
We went and looked at it and looked at distances and.
The tennis courts, it's all
But
right next
to that point, I think it's a moot point if it doesn't fit. All we're doing is asking, would it fit? And then if it does, that opens the second question. We don't need to
I'll go
discuss whether or
measure.
not to move it. It's just
I'll go
needs to be
measure.
measured to fit. Thank you.
I'll go measure.
That's it.
Ryan mentioned the elementary parking. I think it's improved now that it's painted after spring break. Is that true? Blacksmith Fork irrigation, we've had some changes to the board, and they are amicable to the idea of the city looking at taking over their scheduling. Blacksmith
City
Fork
doing what?
helping with the scheduling of their water turns.
You employ a staff person to do the schedule.
To help with it. I don't know.
So, and then bill the company?
I'm not sure exactly. Something to discuss.
So what does the chairman say? Or board president?
I'm all for it. We felt like it would provide a little continuity to the company. And since we're a big shareholder in the company.
Brent, what do you think about it?
You're
He's like
muted.
muted.
Sorry. Say that again. What?
All right, the question is whether the city can take over doing the scheduling for the shareholders for Blacksmith Fork.
Well, it's not an easy process. We spend quite a bit of time. We have purchased from an individual who generated an Excel program to do scheduling. And it took our water master about 3 weeks to get the water scheduling done. It's not an easy process. Blacksmith Fork contacted me and asked me if they could get a copy of our program to do it. And I had no objection to that. I don't know if I told them who to get a hold of, and I haven't heard anything from that. I guess John Hubbard had one, and it's so complicated, nobody can figure it out. Only he. And so I don't know where they're at with it, but
He offered to train someone to do it, and he,
John did?
John did it. He offered to train someone to do it.
So did he create this in Excel or something?
It's Excel. It's a hybrid of things. I'm sure there's a super efficient way to do it. That's a different conversation. So, that's what's going on with Blacksmith Fork irrigation. There's a change in the board. Kathleen Alders, our new water board president. And I'm gonna write a letter for the library, so I just need a date for that, Mayor.
Friday.
Do this Friday, like is
Next week, I gotta
2
get
days?
you're talking about putting it in the newsletter.
Yeah, do in 2 days.
Well, next
Yes.
week is when I gotta pull it all together, and by the end of the week, I have to get it out to the printer. Monday's fine. So you got the weekend.
Oh, all night.
So how long? Full
Not
pages?
too long, maybe like a quarter of a page,
Just a quarter,
maybe. I'll see.
100 words.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
It'll be longer than.
It'll be longer than a quarter.
A full page is about 800 words.
It won't be that long.
Right, so a quarter of a page would be 200 words.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll get it to you fast.
Okay, one side of one page would be 400 words.
Okay. That's all I got.
Christina?
I don't have anything except for one thing in regards to newsletter. We start pushing the concerts in the park and our dates, even if it's just the next one, like a
So you mean
front page.
keep putting it in the,
Yeah, but yes, please.
so you.
Right up front and center.
So was it okay with what I did? Was that?
Yeah, we'll discuss it later. I'll send you an email.
All right, Josh?
Nothing for me other than Brent, I didn't mean to be disagreeable earlier about the annexation thing. I wanted to make sure we were accurate, just because there's a lot of things that need to go place with such a big annexation. I don't want anyone to think that was a done deal. So
Well,
that's all. Just want to know you. I love you guys. Thanks for being in St. George and learning. And I wish I was with you. Brent, you and I should just go out and get some ice cream or something while they're gone.
Yeah.
We'll be by the pool tomorrow.
I apologize too, Josh. I didn't mean to. Stop.
Oh, we're fine. I think it's been kind of a tiring evening, so looking forward to wrapping up.
Okay, I guess the only thing I have is, and Ryan, I don't know if you're going to address it. Do you want to talk about the letter from, or what's happening with the change application? Or do you want me to address it?
You're welcome to State Water.
Okay, so after we had the public hearing on the change application, it seemed to be all good. The Bear River Water Users Association came back and filed a supplemental information request on the change application. After the fact, the state water engineer is somewhat entertaining this request after the fact, and the attorneys have responded to the Bear River Water Users Association's request. And I think that they have, at least from what I read, this should satisfy every point with the state water engineer. But I wish they would just accept that we're not doing anything different than we've done before and move on with this thing. I'd just like to get this thing put to bed, because I don't know what they're worried about. There ain't no water anyway.
We can't print water like we can money.
Anyway, so I think I will see what the state's response is. They, the engineers or our attorneys filed about a 7 or 8 page brief with them in response to what Bear River Water Users Association has filed against it. So we'll see where they get, if that satisfies it. So that's all I have.
Monday, 5 p.m. There's a COG meeting, Council of Governments. Previous COG meeting, there was a suggestion by one of the staff that we bond for a portion of the major corridors. We met with, executive committee met with Science Bank. I think there's consensus that does not make sense. So this is a really different year, and $5 million project doesn't buy what it used to 5 years ago with all of the development and everything else going on. So we'll see where this goes. It's complicated. The last 2 executive committee meetings, we spent over 3 hours discussing it. So I won't go into that, but I will report back on how that comes out. So we may be doing something different, but between the CMPO and the COG and the county, we're talking to a lobbyist who's a brother of Congressman Chris Stewart. His name is Tim Stewart. And we may also supplement our COG money with grant money. And maybe in a nutshell, that's it. So this valley is growing from east to west faster than we can plan at this point. So that's it.
Oh.
All right, we have an executive session.
Motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into executive session from Council Member Seeley.
Oh, you made it. I was just not gonna make it.
Do I have a second? Motion to go into executive session. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Second from Council Member Eck.
Mayor, before you vote, you have to at least say, you don't need to disclose what it is, but you gotta say what the idea is going
So I need to read.
Pending or imminent litigation.
Okay, so I need.
Yeah, that's all you would need to say, if that's what it is pending litigation.
All right, I will read this here. So we have 2 of them here, Scarlett. One says litigation, the other says professional competence.
Litigation.
Okay, so it's the first one. I bet I can guess where this one is. All right. So does Ty stay as recorder?
Yes.
Okay. And Scarlett stays?
Scarlett can stay, but she doesn't have.
Yes.
You don't have to.
Well,
You don't have
it's
to.
up to you, Ryan. If you want my input, I'm happy to. If you don't, I won't. I don't want to cause any grief.
No, it's up to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scarlett can stay. That's fine. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor of going into executive? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?